Association is also proud to announce that awards will be presented to worthy Chelmsford High School seniors and alumni. This year, the total monetary value of the awards exceeds $45,000. In fact, to date, the Alumni Association has presented, not including this year, 1,284 scholarship awards, totaling over $650,000. But who's counting?
It's incredible.
That's a lot of giving back. We are very proud of our Chelmsford High School and of the scholars it produces. With me tonight is the president of the association, Terry McSheehy, and he will be presenting the awards that night. Hope to see you all there. I hope you can make it and be part of the evening. Any questions?
No? Any board members have any questions for Mr. Simonian?
I want to say I finally checked my mail and I saw the letter regarding the Selectmen's scholarship,
Yeah.
and I think that's an excellent idea.
We
So
think
hopefully
so too.
everybody can contribute.
We think so too.
Yeah.
We'll be giving that one out next year,
Okay,
not this
great.
year. We gave one last year a little prematurely, okay? But I think maybe that also kind of helps speed up the process, okay? That's a long story. I don't want to get into that, okay? But it'll be awarded next year, I'm quite sure.
Great,
Great.
thank you.
Any other questions?
No? Well, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you for having me.
It will be a
Good
successful
night.
event.
Have a good night, folks. Take
You
care.
too, thank you. Okay. Next, we have Regina Jackson, the town's veteran agent, coming up to discuss the Military Community Covenant's barbecue and Memorial Day Parade. Good evening, Regina.
Hi, good evening. First, I'd like to talk about the Military Community Covenant Barbecue. So Saturday May 16th, which is Armed Forces Day. So for National Armed Forces Day, Saturday, May 16th, 2015, Chelmsford Eggway is proud to be hosting our 5th annual cookout to benefit the Chelmsford Military Community Covenant Committee. And this committee provides support to Chelmsford members of the armed forces and their families, for active duty folks, and then also there's a good crossover for the veteran folks. So please show your support for our military. Please join us for hot dog and hamburgers from 11 to 2 at Eggway, which is 24 Maple Road in Chelmsford. But more importantly, it's right on the bike trail. So if you're out Saturday biking, walking, stop by Eggway and from 11 to 2 to get a hot dog and a hamburger. And I just want to mention that this committee, the Military Community Covenant Task Force, the members of it, which I'd like to tell you who they are because they don't get much recognition, they're the group that's not only responsible for supporting active duty families in our community, they're also the group that's responsible for putting out the welcome home signs. So you see those, this is the group. And the members, Pat Wojcik is the chairperson, and then there's Elaine Consavo, Dave Curran, Lisa Devine, Jim Curley, and Brian Fredrickson. So Saturday, that's this Saturday, okay, May 16th. And 2 weeks from today is Memorial Day. So Memorial Day in Chelmsford, we do our annual Chelmsford Memorial Day Parade. This year it's in North Chelmsford. And then we'll have an observance. So on Monday, May 25th, the parade will step off at 10 a.m. at American Legion Post 313, which is 90 Groton Road. Everybody's welcome. The Girl Scout troops, Boy Scout troops, you're all welcome to come and join us in March. We ask everyone to assemble at 9:30, and then we'll line everybody up. The parade route will go from the Legion down Groton Road to the left side of Vinyl Square. We'll come up, take a right on Cottage Row, take a right on Princeton. We'll end at Vinyl Square. Then we will have a shot program. And it's always very nice and very well attended. So please come out and on Memorial Day, which is 2 weeks from today, Monday, May 25th, 10 a.m. And then after the observance, the Chelmsford Community Center is going to have ice cream and cake for everybody. So come on over.
Oh, fantastic.
Any questions?
Well, we do have a proclamation we'd like to read
great.
for you.
Great.
Selectman Joyce?
Town of Chelmsford Proclamation in recognition of Memorial Day, May 25th, 2015. Whereas Memorial Day, May 25th, 2015 has been set aside as the annual day of remembrance for those men and women who served our nation during times of conflict as members of the armed forces, and whereas we pause this day to especially remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice of their lives to defend the freedom of all Americans, and whereas we honor the service and sacrifice of all veterans of all wars and conflicts and join the living veterans of the town of Chelmsford in expressing our gratitude to their fallen comrades. Now, therefore, we, the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen, do hereby proclaim Monday, May 25th, 2015, as Memorial Day 2015, and join all residents of the town in recognizing the deceased veterans of Chelmsford on this solemn day. Signed this 11th day of May 2015. Matt Hanson, Robert P. Joyce, Laura Merrill, George Dixon, and Janet Askenberg, and sealed by the town clerk, Honorina Maloney.
Great.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you. We are now in open session. If any residents would like to address the board, now is that opportunity. Evening.
Good evening. My name is Paul Regazio, 25 Clover Hill Drive in Chelmsford. First, I want to congratulate George Dixon and Laura Merrill for their recent election to the board, so congratulations. I attended, getting into my discussion, I attended two of the recent debates we had in March and asked the same question at both. What are your plans to address the inequities of Chapter 70 and the state funding, that adversely affects Chelmsford? In both events, as far as I was concerned, I received unsatisfactory answers, mainly that, it was difficult to get the legislature to, act and try to help the towns along 495, including Chelmsford, to address the inequities. I know from so much for the alleged benefit of having 4 state reps for Chelmsford. I know from experience on the recent redistricting committee, they were really of no help to Chelmsford. I was hoping for another answer, more active answer. Using a football metaphor, which hopefully you'll understand me, and I'm not a football player, if you've run several plays through the line and had no success in getting through there, then maybe you change the signals. Maybe you go around the line or you go over the line. We now have a new player on the field, a 6'5" tight end that happens to have an office on Beacon Hill in the corner. His name, if you don't recognize him, is Governor Charlie Baker. He is obviously sympathetic to Chelmsford because Chelmsford, during the recent election last November, received 8,200 votes from Chelmsford versus 5,100 votes for his main opponent. Let's use his power, to solve the inequities. This is not going to solve a short-term problem, but this is an issue that we're all aware of. So, my suggestion is, let's use his power, let's forget about the 4 reps, and let's put together a committee. Let's study the problem. Let's come up with the facts and figures, and let's go directly to Charlie Baker, and let's see if we can get it solved. And, there's several people in the town that would be, I'm sure, willing. I've talked to Sal Lapoli, and he was very receptive to the idea. I would be more than willing to serve on the committee, but there are other people who are a lot younger than myself and a lot more committed. I know I shouldn't say committed, a lot more qualified to serve on the and again, to name a few, Sal Lapoli, we have Marie Franz, who I understand, was very familiar with it. Was it Anita Tanini? And also, from my own experience, we can, the committee should not only be involved just with the town of Chelmsford, but other areas local to along 495 in the same situation as us. And I know of one person like that, and that's Paul Avella, who was a school committeeman in the town of Littleton, and is now a selectman in town of Littleton. He's a former Air Force colonel,
Right.
very competent, and has done a good job in Littleton. So again, let's, hopefully the committee will, consider this, and, it's not a short-term situation, it's a long-term situation. Let's get a committee, study what the facts are, show what the inequities are, and let's go directly to Governor Baker. Let's do something positive. So that's my say.
I appreciate that, and we will be setting up our new goals for the year shortly. I think that is a good idea. Our representatives have told us that they think it would be a good idea to reach out to other towns that are also in a similar position regarding Chapter 70, so it's not just us. We
Yeah.
can build a collaborative.
Well, that's right.
So that's some good advice. Much appreciated.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Would anyone else like to speak under open session? Good evening.
Good evening, John Wodrick, 80 Littleton Road. And I'm here, my neighbors, myself, I think I've spoken with a lot of you about the truck traffic. And we're now ramping up, aggregates ramping up the facility up on Oak Street, up off of Littleton Road. And they're running all night long. That plant operates all night long. I'm not going to go into details tonight, but what I'd like to do is set up when the Board of Selectmen does the open session, the open public session. We'd like to have the Board of Health there, the Chief of Police there. These are people that are making decisions on letting that plant be open on Sundays and operating all night long. And we just want to, give everyone a heads up. And, right now we've got about 45 people that want to get up and talk. And they don't want to talk for 5 minutes and just, say, boy, trucks are loud, boy, this or that. They want to go into details about their kids not being able to sleep, themselves not being able to sleep.
All right.
And I understand we're on a state road and trucks can travel that road. But why is that plant allowed to be open all night long? And we don't have to answer that tonight,
Right.
but we'll look for that answer. Because every other town that surrounds us, those plants are not allowed to be open.
Again,
You
I
know,
can double check
Westford,
that, but I do
Littleton,
believe that there are
Groton.
some regulations about when they're allowed to operate. But I'm certainly happy to make sure we have your email address and your contact information. I'd love to get some of that conversation started sooner rather than later regarding the Board of Health, Health Department. The Chief of Police, I believe, is actually here tonight, and get some answers to you. And we can definitely let you know so you can reach out to your neighbors when we're going to have our next public input session. They're usually very lightly attended, so we would love some additional feedback during those meetings when we have more time to talk.
Have we scheduled that?
I don't believe we've scheduled our next one yet. We should probably do that at the next meeting, though.
Part of the Mass DEP, part of their regulations say that facility's supposed to be reporting to the Board of Health. That the Board of Health is supposed to be gathering information. I know that's not happening. It hasn't happened in the past. And that plant, when they went for their expansion, was supposed to be reporting to the Board of Selectmen on tonnages and, it's easy to know they're overproducing because, I have a security camera and during the summer at night, we've got over 60 trucks an hour going by. And if they're only permitted to do 360 tons an hour, and those trucks each are carrying 24 tons, they're just, and then there are trucks going the other way that we don't even see, so.
Well, that's something we'll look into. I certainly don't. I've never heard anyone say that they are overproducing or that they knew that that was a fact. But
Well, nobody's going to come right out and say, hey, we're overproducing. They're pushing it. And ever since Route 3, they keep pushing it. They used to have an ordinance where those trucks had to go west into Westford at night, and they pushed it. And then they started, well, we're going to send any trucks that aren't ours, they can go wherever they want. And now that's just totally whitewashed away.
Okay.
They're going wherever they want.
No,
know,
it does
and-
sound like a conversation we need to, have at a later date when we can have more
And a
time to
lengthy
talk
one,
about it.
and again, probably a couple hours of,
All right.
they're not just coming down here, twice a year and,
Our last public input session was only 15 minutes, so if you want to take a couple hours then,
That
would
was
be
with the
fine.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, that's true.
well, I missed that one.
All right. Can you please just make sure maybe that Tricia or Paul or any of us have your email address so
Yeah.
we can make sure
Yeah.
we tell you about our next public input session?
I will.
Okay.
All right, thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Would anyone else like to speak during open session?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, yes. Good evening.
Hello, Vivian Merrill, 23 Maple Road. Here tonight just to remind residents that the annual Walgreens Dog Rally will be held on May 30th. I forgot to get myself on the list today, and I just realized this is the last meeting before May 30th. The event will run at Walgreens on 86 Chelmsford Street from 10 to 2. And this year we're trying something a little bit different where we're having a dog beauty pageant and talent contest. So
Wow.
if you have any dogs that like to dress up or can do special stuff, we'd love to see you there. You'll be competing for prizes. And, we'll do our raffles and we'll have lunch, and Brian Henderson will be singing and providing entertainment for us. And we'll have a couple of demonstrations, and everyone's welcome. It's free to get in, and again, hope to see you there.
Yeah, you get great visibility at that spot. It's nice of Walgreens to let you use their parking lot.
Yeah,
What are the hours again?
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Great, May 30th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak during open session? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to committee vacancies. Joyce?
Yes, committee vacancies as of 5/11/2015. We have Community Preservation Committee, there's 1 3-year term. Cultural Council, 2 3-year terms. Great Brook Farm Advisory Committee, 1 1-year term. Land Management Subcommittee, 1 2-year term. Tree Committee, 1 expired 3-year term. And if you're interested, you can go online to www.townofchelmsford.us and get a form for a volunteer form. Fill it out and send it to Town Manager's Office, tmoffice@townofchelmsford.us.
Great. Thank you very much, Bob. Move on to item number 5, licenses. First up, we have a one-day beer and wine license for Budget Buddies. We're hosting an event at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts on May 29th.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. You just gave my
You did.
entire talk here. My name is Nancy Olt. I'm president of the board of Budget Buddies. We are having an event, a fundraiser for Budget Buddies, which is a nonprofit, a local nonprofit that is helping women, low-income women with financial literacy. It will be held on May 29th at the CCA starting at 7 o'clock. We are here to ask for a one-day beer and wine license for that event.
Great. Well, it's been-
I'm also tasked with asking if I can give you each a flyer.
Yes, you certainly can.
Okay.
Any questions for the applicant while she's handing out the flyers? All right. I know this has been a successful event in the past, so
Thank you.
certainly don't see any problems. Is there a motion?
Yes, there is. I make a motion to approve a one-day beer and wine license for Budget Buddies, Inc. on May 29th, 2015, for the hours of 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. to be exercised on the premises at 1A North Road.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a one-day beer and wine license for a Huntington's Disease Society of America event,
I knew you
also
looked
at the
familiar.
CCA.
May 30th.
May 30th. There we go.
Dave Souza, 6 Stevens Street. I'm here on behalf of the Huntington's Disease Society of America. We are doing a fundraiser May 30th at the Center for the Arts and requesting a one-day beer and wine license. And Mr. Joyce is, I think, familiar with our organization. He helped out one year. We did a big concert over at the high school. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Huntington's, it's not a popular disease. How many people know who Woody Guthrie is? Okay. I know who Woody Guthrie is. He is probably the most popular person who's ever had the disease, but his wife Marjorie brought it to the forefront in the 60s. And most of those people up until that time were considered mentally insane and were locked up and had the keys thrown away, so to speak. So Marjorie did a great job of, if you know who Arlo Guthrie is Woody's son, who does not have the gene. But that's a little background on the Huntington's story. One brief presentation I would like to make to Bob. Bob helped us out a few years ago. One of the people we lost to Huntington's was Megan Sullivan. She was a 2005 graduate of Chelmsford High School. Positive right to the end. We lost her, but that's the negative. The positive side of it is she got to meet a woman named Lisa Genova. And I'm not sure if you know who Lisa Genova is, but you may know her through her work as she has a PhD in neurosciences from Harvard, and she turned author, and she wrote a book called Still Alice, which turned into a movie. And that woman, Julianne Moore, who played Alice, won the Academy Award. Well, Lisa's written a few books, and Megan got to meet Lisa, and Lisa teamed up with her mother, Cheryl, and Cheryl pretty much told her story from Megan's point of view. And we were fortunate that Lisa wrote her fourth book entitled Inside the O'Briens. It's dedicated to Megan. The screenplay is currently being written and will hopefully be out in the next couple of years, hopefully to be filmed in Boston, if Lisa has her way. So I'd like to present this to you, Bob, on behalf of Megan,
Wow.
who would say two things to you: thank you and I love you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's very nice.
And I don't know if this is something that's,
This isn't
this
a
is
bribe.
released?
It's not a bribe. It is released. It was released last month.
Okay, is it in our library?
I'm not sure it's in your library
Okay,
as
I'm
yet.
gonna-
It's
I'm
still
gonna
in hard
check.
copy.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna check, and if not, I'm gonna give them this copy.
Well, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to make the motion, Bob, to approve the
Sure,
license?
sure would, seeing that that's my job. I make a motion to approve a one-day beer and wine license for Huntington Disease Society of America on May 3rd, 2015, May 30th, 2015, for the hours of 6:30 PM to 11 PM to be exercised on the premises at 1A North Road.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? It's unanimous. Good luck at
Thank
the
you.
event.
Okay?
Okay. The third license was postponed, so we won't be voting on that tonight. So we'll move on to the one-day beer and wine license for Kathleen Howe, memorial service at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts.
Hi,
Good evening.
Militia Howe, 201 Acton Road.
Hi.
And
Would you
we're
like to
having a memorial service for my mom at the Arts Center. And we just want to do beer and wine.
7 to 10:30. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there tip certification?
Deborah Varnum, okay. I make a motion to approve a one-day beer and wine license for Alicia Howe. Alicia
It's
Howe
close.
on June 27th, 2015, for the hours of 3 PM to 6 PM to be exercised on the premises of 1A North Road. No, I said June 27th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I second.
That was written on it
A
here.
lot going on that month.
Is the date June 5th? I'm sorry. I have
No,
two
it's the
conflicting-
27th.
It is? Okay.
It's a Saturday.
Okay, great, thank you. And you seconded it, Laura?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you. Okay. We have a one-day beer and wine license for the Chelmsford Art Society for July 2nd. Evening, sir.
Hello. Hi. Ivan Orlinsky, 54 Elm Street. I'm the new president of the Chelmsford Art Society. We're requesting a one-day license, July 2nd from 6 to 10 p.m. Initially, I'd put down July 4th, but
We
I
fixed it.
corrected that.
Yes, I see that, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Let's see, I just want to see tips.
We have a licensed person who will
Oh, okay.
manage
Did you write
that.
it on here? Is it on here?
I did not. I can provide that
Okay,
information.
yeah, please do, just so we know.
Definitely.
I make a motion to approve a one-day beer and wine license for the Chelmsford Center for the Arts on July 2nd, 2015, for the hours of 1 PM to 4 PM, to be exercised on the premises of 1A North Road.
Excuse me, the hours is 6 to 10.
6 to 10.
Just a little correction there. Sorry about that.
6 to 10, okay.
Okay, all right.
Friendly amendment of 6 to 10 PM.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? It's unanimous.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Thank you. Last license we have is an auto dealer Class 2 transfer. Dutron Barrows Incorporated, doing business as Route 110 Carmel, located at 301 Littleton Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Antonio Barros, 60 Rice Street, Cambridge, Massachusetts. run a business in 301 Littleton Road, Route 110 Carmel. I'm here to ask you guys if I can transfer my license to Edivaldo Dutra. I was here in February 24th last year. You guys granted me a license. That I thank you very much. And now I'm here to, if I can ask you if you can transfer for him. The business didn't work out for me, and I move on to something else.
Oh, sorry about that, but we do definitely wish you luck.
Thank you.
Any questions for
Yeah,
the
yes.
applicant?
Paul, was this the one there was a problem with at one time?
It was the location, it wasn't this license. It was a previous license at that location.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So that's null and void.
Well, we've notified the Registry of Motor Vehicles.
Oh, good. Yeah, nothing like being
Yeah,
creative, right?
Right.
You understand that this is only for 11, what is it, 11 or 9?
9.
9. And I ride by there every day and count.
That's good.
That's Paul.
So just
Let's do.
for the new owner, you do have to be careful. We live by there.
9 is the number,
But
and that includes the side yard.
looked like everything was in order. But
Yep.
any questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none. Is there a motion to approve?
See if I can find the motion.
It's here. All right.
Way ahead of me.
Sorry.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the application for transfer of Auto Dealer 2 license from Antonio Claudio Piera Barros to El Divado Dutra to be exercised on the premises at 301 Littleton Road, contingent upon providing updated workman's compensation certificate of insurance.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays or abstentions? It's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Okay, moving on to item number 6 on the agenda, public hearings. We have an all-alcohol restaurant alteration of premises for the 110 Grill located at 110 Chelmsford Street. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Kevin Erickson on behalf of the applicant, the Take Two 110 Grill LLC. Before you tonight seeking an alteration of premises. I don't know if the board has noticed that the 110 Grill has seen a bit of a facelift. We've changed the exterior appearance as well as made some largely cosmetic changes to the interior of the premises, and that's more in keeping with the 110 Grill theme that if you've ever been to the Nashua location, that location exhibits. So this was sort of trying to bring that location, the Chelmsford location, which was the original location, up to date with the Nashua theme.
Okay. Well, I've only been to the Chelmsford location, thankfully.
Please go to the Nashua one as well. It's in Trafalgar Square, which is right off of Amherst Street.
All right.
It's a freestanding, it's larger than this premises. I mean, the menu's still the same, so it's great. But please, take a look.
All right. Oh,
That's a new one, right?
Yes,
Yeah, brand new.
yes,
Could
in
you
the
maybe,
last year.
there were a lot of plans associated with this application. Could you maybe just walk us through what those interior changes
So
were?
there were, and for the most part, again, it was cosmetic. So the paint changed, some of the wallpaper came down, the bar countertop changed.
Right.
There was some removal of some non-weight bearing walls for kind of increase the openness. But again, for the most part, everything that was done was cosmetic. And then obviously the exterior changes as well.
Yeah, and seating capacity remain the same,
Seating
correct?
capacity remains exactly the same.
Perfect. Any questions for the applicant?
Does, you're the, no, it's not you. Kevin Erickson is the, are you
I'm the-
Erickson?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am.
So, who's the manager gonna be?
The manager's still Ryan Dion. I don't know if this board remembers, not too long ago, we were here for a change of manager, which was approved maybe 3 or 4 months ago. But Ryan Dion is still the manager of the premises.
Okay. I just didn't see his name in there, so I just wanna.
Great. Well,
Sure. The other thing I wanted to mention while I had you here, the sign out in front,
Uh-huh.
the glittery things. Did you run that by the town building inspector? Because I thought that was something that we didn't allow, Paul. Do you know? Paul?
I'm not aware of any violation. I can check with the
You
building
don't allow
inspector.
glitter, or what?
It's that
No,
LED sign.
Reflective.
They blow in the night, and day and night, you see them and they're moving all the time.
I don't think the bylaw anticipated
drinking.
that, so I think it's sort of a loophole.
There was but, I mean, we did talk about things that moved.
Or
When I was on the
changed,
planning
yeah.
board.
Right.
Huh.
Anything that moves. I'll check it too,
Okay.
but we should check it through planning board. I was surprised when I saw it up there one day.
I'm not aware of any violation. I believe that my position is that sign is fully conforming.
Yeah, but you're not the building inspector.
No, I'm not. Though I've had discussions with him in the past, and I will again if need be.
I have to listen to him, not you.
So, I mean, we'll look into that and follow up if we find out that it's necessary. Any questions specific to the application in front of us? And this is a public hearing. Do any members of the public wish to speak? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second, yeah,
Or you can move the motion.
move to close the public hearing.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Public hearing is closed. Any further debate on the main motion to approve the alteration of premises? Is there a motion to approve the alteration?
Wait a minute.
I don't know what she made here.
A lot of people. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I make a motion to approve an alteration of premises, all alcohol restaurant license for Take Two 110 Grill LLC, DBA 110 Grill, to be exercised on the premises at 116 Chelmsford Street.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? It's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Should I just leave the green cards?
Yeah,
Here.
please do. That'd be fine. Thank you. Next public hearing, we have an underground conduit petition for Wellman Ave. National Grid here. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Dave Aguirre, and I'm representing National Grid. National Grid, the electric company, is asking for permission to replace two poles on Wellman Ave, 6-1 and 6-2. And at 6-1, we'd like to install conduit with cable, approximately 15 feet in the public taking, will be going on to the condominiums at Wellman Ave.
Okay. Any questions from members of the board?
Is Wellman Street a public way?
Yes.
Wellman
Yes.
Ave?
It is a public way?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Wellman Ave. So they're replacing the pole in the same location and redoing the underground conduit?
Yes.
Okay, is the current pole going to be removed while they replace it?
Well, yes, not at the same time. The new pole will be placed, and then the pole will be changed over, and then the old pole will be taken out of there.
Okay. We'll have
Can
to
we
make
put
sure
it-
we prioritize that.
Can we put an addendum on the motion that says you have to remove it in 60 days?
Yeah, you ought to yeah.
I think that's what we should do now. We should say they have to be removed within 60 days.
As you're aware, we've had problems with double poles in the past, so we try not to increase that problem when we add
Sure.
new poles moving forward.
Which reminds me, aren't we due an update from them on the number of poles and the plan to remove
Oh, I
them?
think they were redoing a more detailed plan over the summer. Was it over the summer they were going to be
No, do you
doing it?
remember?
Go back
We
and
can
check the
follow up
minutes.
maybe.
Okay.
It'd be good to-
in June or something, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't May.
Maybe we'll have an update at our next meeting.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Okay, well, yeah, you'll probably be making the motion, Bob, but any other questions? And we do have to entertain the public as well. All right, does anyone from the public wish to speak? Good evening, sir.
Dave Dubinsky, 229 Wilman Avenue. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and as a trustee of the Williamsburg Condominium Association Number 1. I guess I'm a little bit confused because abutters received a letter from National Grid, and it appears that what is being contemplated actually moves from the public street of Wellman Avenue inside.
Oh, can you maybe just speak into the microphone? I can't hear you.
Williamsburg Condominium Association. And
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Couldn't hear you when you
So
did
it
that.
appears that the plans to upgrade the conduit, underground conduit,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word, invades or intrudes into the private Williamsburg condominium environment. So, before I go any further, I just want to make sure, is that true?
Could you come up to the
Okay.
microphone, please, and answer that? It's for people at home, maybe watching.
It'd be to replace the cable in Williamsburg.
Okay.
Okay. So, that being the case, I wish I could lift this up. That being the case, historically, what happened several months ago, maybe as much as 6 to 8 or 9 months ago, is a survey team came out on multiple days and marked a number of different areas of Williamsburg. And myself and several other board members were asking the surveyors what's going on. We didn't receive any information whatsoever. We kept plugging away. Our management company finally got to National Grid, and we understood what was going on. So in the affirmative, an upgrade to the cable is obviously a very positive development. What we're concerned about is before this board approves this petition, there should be assurances that any damage that's done, in terms of tearing up the roads, the grass on both sides of the roads will be fully restored to its
Prior
its
state.
useful state. That's number one. Number two, because we didn't really receive any information, the communication between National Grid and the residents of Williamsburg was basically zero. And imagine any of you in your home environment, on your street, all of a sudden somebody's coming with heavy equipment, they're tearing up your street and your lawns. So we also would want like assurances that proper, reasonable, advanced notification as different phases of this project move forward, that there is sequential communication and there's an understanding of what's going to happen so that we as a board and the management company can inform the residents sequentially as well.
Dave, can I ask the applicant to come up and maybe address that quickly while he's here?
I can't speak for who, I don't believe they were surveyors that were out on the property. I believe they were locators, and they were probably locating where our underground lines are. We've done this in different towns. We just recently did this in Westford, Andover. And we usually work with the community as to whether we're going to place the cables back where they were, or if we're going to put them in the street, or if we're going to put them on the side of the road. We try to work with the community as to where's the best place to do this. But yes, we would be definitely in touch with, I thought it was a condominium, so we'd be definitely in touch with the condominium association before we do that.
It is
But
a
they'd be, to get.
Okay,
the
I guess
first-
that was my main question. Some of that surveying might have been for other things as well, but I just wanted to make sure that someone would be in touch with the management company
Oh,
before the
yeah.
work takes place so they can inform the residents.
Absolutely, because the way it normally works is well before we're going to be well before we get to somebody's driveway, the person would be notified. Most of the time we do this, and it's not in condominiums, it's a regular underground development. And we'll tell the people, we're going to be at your place tomorrow morning. If you can get the cars out of there, we get the cars out of the driveway, or we put a steel plate there, and everything is put back, if not better than the way it was. But we work with the community as to whether we want to go in the street or on the side of the road. Sometimes they don't want it in the side of the road, they'd prefer us in the street. We do either way. We go either way. But we definitely work with the person.
So if grass was dug up to place and replace the conduit, the grass would be replaced in some fashion?
Absolutely. Driveways, sidewalks, yes, everything's put right back. Absolutely.
How about loss of power? Is there loss of power for a certain amount of time?
we try to avoid that, but sometimes it's inevitable. But like you were just saying about the double pole, we'll leave that double pole there because one of those poles is going to be energized. There'll be a small flop over of it, but and again, the people will be notified which group is going to be going out. Maybe it'll be an hour, maybe it'll be 2 hours, but that's pretty much it.
They'll be notified ahead of time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Any more public input?
Yes. So I would ask the presenter if the presenter has actually driven through Williamsburg condominiums.
I will ask him. Would you like to answer that question?
Yes. I'm not on this. Yeah, not on this particular project, but yeah, I've been
In the past, you have? Okay, great, thank you. Is there any more?
And finally, in terms of what Mr. Dixon just raised, the issue of power failures or intermittent loss of power. During a non-scheduled power failure, when the power was restored, several of our owners experienced some pretty serious damage because of power surges. So,
Dave, I think that might be, I don't know if that's a little outside the scope of this, but I think that would be something to bring up with National Grid possibly.
okay.
I think that's,
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
no, thank you.
Thank you.
We are still in the public input stage of the public hearing. If anyone else would like to come up and address the board on this public hearing. All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing on National Grid.
I second.
All in favor of closing public hearing? Aye. Nays or abstentions? Public hearing is closed.
I don't see a motion.
You can say approve the Wellman condo petition.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be.
Any more debate on the issue, conversation? All right, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the underground conduit petition for Wellman Avenue. Looking for a number, if there is a number.
There, yeah. It's National Grid Plan.
Yeah, National Grid, WR 170221114, dated 2/3/2015, with the provision that following the completion of the work, within 90 days, the old pole will be removed.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That's unanimous. Great, thank you. Thank you, Dave. One more public hearing, continuation of a dangerous dog hearing, 14 Algonquin Road. I would ask that anyone who plans on possibly speaking during this public hearing come up to the podium now to be sworn in. Okay, just wait one more moment. Okay, could anyone who plans on speaking please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth during your testimony this evening? I do. You do? Great, thank you. And you may be seated. Mr. Merrill?
Good evening. We're here on the dangerous dog hearing continuation. To give a brief synopsis, we had a mother and her children walking down a public way and were pretty savagely attacked by two dogs residing at 14 Algonquin Road, at which point the 4-year-old child suffered some severe injuries. From that, we have this case where we're coming in, under the state statute, Chapter 140, Section 157 of dangerous dogs, where a dog prevents or a dog attacks unprovoked, it goes before the hearing authority of the town to label that dog dangerous. I think we have more than ample evidence on what happened that day through testimony of Ms. Howe, interviews and stuff that I've done. When our last hearing, we talked about, the severity of the bites and stuff. The numerous story changes we've had from the defendant, where it's changed from, what the statement was taken in the morning to the following afternoon, to filing a report of animal abuse for a woman trying to protect her children. with that, we had some rebuttals from some of the comments made at the last hearing. As of right now, I did speak with our town clerk, Mary Lou. The dogs still have not been licensed, and the fines and citations that have been issued still have not been paid. I spoke with the woman at 12 Algonquin when Ms. Howe stated that she was calling for help and no one was home, and then Ms. Sheridan stated that, in fact, the woman was home. Well, I spoke with that woman, and she was home, but she did not hear it. She was asleep. When she did come to the door, the Howes were walking up the street, so she didn't see the transaction, so to clarify that. But on other occasions, they have seen these dogs out running loose in the street. We also had, comments. Originally, we were told the dogs resided in Stoughton and were licensed there. They were not. Canton. At the last meeting, she said that the dogs were licensed in Stoughton. We called Stoughton and spoke with the town clerk's office there. The dogs were never licensed in Stoughton, as they were never registered as voters or residents of Stoughton. We were never presented with the rabies certificate. Ms. Sheridan stated that she gave us rabies certificate. She gave us 2 pieces of paper. One was printed out the 11th day, which was after the quarantine, after the fact when we needed. And the second one, which is in your package, if you read under the rabies section, it says void, and there's no lot number, no veterinarian signature, no vial numbers. So that piece of paper is useless. At this point here, we stated, she stated what the citations, she did not know. If you have a copy of the citations in your book, it explains exactly what to do. And at this point here, we are going forward with criminal charges on that because it's been past the appeal and processing time, which was April 14th, because you have 21 days to either appeal or pay the fines. So that's a synopsis of where we are and some rebuttal to some of the comments that were made at the last meeting. I'm sure you have some residents and Ms. Howe and them would like to speak, but I don't know if you'd like my recommendations now or as a closing statement.
I think it's best to wait so you can hear the same testimony we do here. You actually answered, I think, all the questions that I had prepared ahead of time, but we certainly do have, I'll ask the other board members and the public input as well, but thank you for the update so far. Do any members of the board have any questions right now for the animal control officer?
I just have one. Sure. So when the dogs were placed in quarantine, you had mentioned that you can either leave them at the house or you can take them to seize them. Why didn't you seize them?
We typically do a home quarantine.
I mean, even though that this attack happened?
Right. We've had numerous ones. We've always historically done home quarantines. It's usually easier on the dogs and the family as well. At this case, in retrospect, we might have, we could have seized them, but we had no incidents afterwards outside of just, uncooperativeness and not presenting the information we needed. But at that point, during the quarantine period, we had no complaints and we did not see the dogs out. So there was nothing to go out of the norm to, to seize the dog. Because when we seize them, it's at the owner's expense as well.
Right.
And
so once you place them, in quarantine at the house, if you see them out running around, then you'll seize them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then there's actual criminal charges that go with that because it's a state law that these dogs must maintain, and the requirements, I don't know if they're in your package, being away from humans, being away from other animals, mammals, and not in contact with anyone. It has to be leash walked. And so there's a whole litany of requirements. So as long as they're met, we can do that. And like I said, we typically do it at the house.
Okay.
So.
And then just a quick follow-up.
Sure.
You kind of ran through it a little quick.
Okay.
When you were saying the dogs were not licensed in Stoughton?
Stoughton.
Stoughton?
Nope, not at all. We called down to the clerk's office. We checked from 2012 to current because they moved potentially into Chelmsford in July of 2014, and they were never licensed in Stoughton. And the Sheridans themselves were not registered as voters or residents of the town as well. And that was certified through the town clerk's office there.
Okay, but they could have been residents.
They could have been, absolutely. But, most people, voter registration, census, stuff like that, there's no record of them having ever completed any of that. So there's no official record that outside of, if they have, rental agreements or something. But as
Right.
far as the town clerk, the dogs weren't there, and they have no record that they were ever there.
Okay.
Yes, Bob.
So, the census for this year, 2015, they didn't register?
I don't know in town here. I'm not. I didn't follow up with the census aspect, since we know where they live and their
Right, right.
licenses and stuff.
Right.
Our driver's license.
Because that
are
would have
listed.
probably been the most convenient time to do it, when you get the thing in the mail.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Just so you know, I did see an article online from Miss Sheridan living in Stoughton.
Mhm.
She had seen like a wolf or something in her backyard, so
Okay.
I did see that.
That she was there.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions right now? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public or Ms. Sheridan who would like to speak? Yes. When you come up to the podium, could you please just state your name and address for the record?
Yes, David Howe, 3 Algonquin Road, William's father.
Good evening.
I had a little prepared statement. I'm going to skip around. I'm a little nervous talking in public, but so I wasn't there during the attack. My wife was there, and she's retold this to the board in the last meeting. But as William's father, been dealing with the after effect, the aftermath of the attack. And William's personality, he was a little cautious around dogs to begin with. Now he's terrified. I mean, we went to a family outing the other day, dog this big, Additionally, even in our neighborhood, it's my wife and they're hesitant just to take a walk, in our neighborhood. So it's frightening that something like this could happen. And really, when I talk to my son, the one thing he wants is to be safe, and I want to be able to tell him that. Tell him, that these dogs, these bad dogs, they're not going to hurt you. You're going to be in trouble forever. They're not going to hurt you. And that's my wife's and my biggest worry is that, not only the safety of our son, but the other kids, in our town, in our neighborhood. And there are a lot of them now. And when we moved there a couple of years ago, it was older gentlemen living next door. There's a lot of turnover, a lot of kids in that neighborhood, and there's a little bit of fear for those kids with dangerous dogs. I myself was a dog owner growing up. Found myself the other day walking down the street, questioning, is that dog a nice dog? That's why I try to tell my son. You ask the owner, is he a nice dog? Can I pet him? So we're dealing with that, and we'll be dealing with it for a long time. So I just want to hope you guys hear what I have to say, hear my concerns, and take that into consideration, when you make your decision.
Absolutely. Much appreciated. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on the public hearing portion?
Hello again. I'm Alicia Howe at 201 Acton Road. I'm David's sister and a dog owner, and William's aunt. And I can tell you, I wanted to just speak to Mrs. Sheridan said last time that it was a provoked attack because he was kicking the dogs. I know my nephew. He has been timid around dogs, just as my brother said. In my experience with my dogs, he is timid, and what he does is run the other way. And we've had to really work with him before this happened to be like, you just tell him, back up, you take control of it if you can, but it's okay to be afraid, but our dogs aren't going to hurt you. And I can't tell you, we've gone now, we try to see them with my dogs at least once a week because the reaction is so severe. I mean, it's almost like he's living like a traumatic experience all over again. His legs are up as high as he can get them on my brother's body, and that's where he was bit. So, one, I don't believe he touched, kicked, hurt, did anything to provoke an attack, and two, the damage that has been done is far worse than the scars on his legs. So, thank you.
Sorry to hear that. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak this evening? Evening? Can you pull the microphone down a little bit and tell us your name?
My name is Scott Sheridan.
Okay. And you're here with your mom tonight, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was provoked. He cried, and our dog's he likes to comfort kids if they cry. So he basically slipped off his leash, went over there, and then the kid started kicking him. The mom, after he kicked the dog twice, started kicking him, and after a little bit, the mom started hitting him with the the carriage, and our dog tried to take off the shoe, not bite him, because he was wearing boots. And after that, while we were trying to get him, walked around, he paced back and forth around us. Well, the kid and the mom were hitting him, and also, there was no kid in the carriage. The carriage was knocked over, and I think the kid would have fell out if the carriage was knocked over. The carriage was not knocked over by a dog. It was knocked over from the mom hitting the dog with the carriage. This is all true.
I certainly appreciate your testimony. It's hard for us to know what the dog was thinking, whether it's trying to take a shoe off or not. All we know that there are a lot of bite marks on the child's legs. We've seen the photos, and it's a difficult situation. But we certainly appreciate you giving your testimony, your side of the story.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Is there any further public input? Would anyone else like to speak? Evening.
Good evening. It's Cluis Howe, 3 Algonquin Road.
I can't hear you.
Sorry,
Could you pull that up, please? Thank you.
Thanks.
Say again?
I just want to...
You repeat your name, please?
Your name?
My name is Cluis Howe from 3 Algonquin Road. My son was the 4-year-old son, the child that was attacked. And I'd just like to say that my younger son was in the carriage. He was strapped in, so thankfully the straps work on a bucket seat carriage that sits on top, so when he did fall, he was fine. But there'd be no reason at all for us to ever do anything like that to a dog. We had stopped because we were cautious of the dog to begin with. My son was concerned, as mentioned previously, that he gets terrified a little bit. When the dog did come to us, he started to cry like he normally does. I stayed calm and lifted him up as I normally would with any dog that he's terrified of when we enter a home. And that is when the dog started attacking my son. And yes, he did start flailing his legs and probably kicking the dog. I never kicked the dog because I was holding him and holding a carriage at the same time. It was impossible. And yes, I probably at some point did use the carriage to try to block the dogs. But I'm sorry that I have to even come up again, but I just wanted to kind of relay that piece. And
okay.
It was pretty vicious, so. We're visiting my brother who has dogs of that type, and I'm concerned with even going to the house that the dog could do something like that, even though they're, well trained, so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public hearing portion? Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Jessica Sheridan, 14 Algonquin Road. I guess I'm trying to think of what I should go over first.
Do you have anything to say regarding the licensing of the dogs or the paying of the fines or anything that was brought up at the beginning of the public hearing?
Because I know you can like print out like the form and write in for the licensing, and it says it can take up to 2 weeks, so I did do it last week.
Which license? The actual licensing of the dogs you sent in, you're saying?
Yeah. Like it has a printout online.
Okay. So
We have an online application?
We've not commenced it. I mean, we've been on that system today. We're not aware of any delays in the system, nor is the clerk's office taking active online registrations of the dogs.
No, it's not like online, it's, you print it out.
You print out the form?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you send like the rabies.
Then you mailed it?
Yes,
okay. And when did you say you mailed it?
it was last week.
You mailed it from Chelmsford?
Yes.
We haven't seen it.
Okay. And any rabies certification or paying of any fines?
I honestly didn't know. He basically, situation go on where my son's the one who witnessed it, not even ask him a question. Just seems like you're not doing an investigation at all. So basically, 2 other officers said that he didn't want to come by, or he wasn't coming by, and that he wanted to hand me a slip. So I got the slip with citations. However, I thought it like implied to coming here, not. I guess I was just confused because I tried to ask the officers questions on it, and they just said, oh, he said to drop it off, and we don't know anything about it, and we can't answer your questions.
Well, maybe we can clarify tonight, but any citations you've been issued, it's my understanding they do need to be paid. Animal control officer can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so those do need to be paid.
Yes, because I did try to ask him after, and I tried to ask him a bunch of different questions, which all went unanswered.
The dog officer you asked questions?
Yes.
All right.
About, you know, basically how everything works, what we were going to do and go from here. I asked, knowing that we were going to be here, was he pushing forward, or, you know what I mean? And I just got nothing. He just ignored me and grabbed the rabies certificates. He must have copied one of them. And then he dropped back in the police station, just brought it back to me and then left the room while I was trying to ask questions.
We did send certified letters stating what happened to the last meeting, stating that you were invited again to this meeting, though. Did you receive those letters?
Yes.
Okay, you did. Okay. And have you made any changes or adjustments to how the dogs are handled over the past few weeks to ensure that they can't get off their leash or that they're
Yes,
secure?
we haven't
What have you
even-
done? Have you done anything so far?
We secured our fence completely, like dug out a trench. We are working on putting in an invisible fence so that, you know, they're not able to even, you know, one of the kids opens the front door or something, they're not going to be able to get through it, you know. Since the incident, the dogs haven't gotten out. We've done a really good job to prevent them from, you know, explaining to our children the rules and going over everything and how serious it was. And I guess, did you have any more questions on that?
Bob, you had a question?
You realize you're facing criminal charges on these right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I didn't.
What are you going to do about that?
I'm not sure
Honestly,
that-
I have no idea.
I don't think that's something we're going to be addressing. That's between the courts and the animal control officer.
No, I know, but that's an action he's taken, that's all I'm saying.
Like, I don't,
Do you have home insurance?
yes.
Okay. Have you notified your home insurance about this event?
No, I didn't, because he had the other officers dropped it off, he made it as though it, and this is why I, like, didn't know exactly and was confused by the registration and what, wanting to come here last time, was because nothing was answered. So I assumed that the piece of whatever it was dropped off by the officers had to do with coming here and, you know, figuring it out here, not a separate thing.
Well, we'll try and make sure we clarify everything tonight.
And I did try to ask him questions about it, and he basically just said nothing.
Well, this is a very serious
Yes.
event. I would really look at what's happened and really think about how you're gonna handle this, because on top of criminal charges, I'm sure that the people whose son would bit is gonna be looking for damages, so.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think the best thing you can do is comply with all the laws.
Like us not speculate about what other people are going to do.
Right.
If we
No,
could, but
but it's a possibility.
it's a possibility, certainly. I think Janet had a question.
Just, so I don't know what your yard looks like. Can you tell me about the fence and what you said you've done to it?
We have like a 6-foot high vinyl PVC fence. So there's like a back corner that we had kind of tried to enclose, and that's where if they, like my female one, if she could slip out here and there, that was where it would be from. So we dug out like a trench and made sure that
She escaped underneath it, is that what you're saying? I'm sorry.
like before, if she had gotten out like here like a few times, it was from that area. So we made sure that was secure. But otherwise, it's fully fenced.
So you have
gates?
We have 2 gates, but one of them has a lock on it.
So this is in your backyard, a fully fenced-in area, is that what you're saying?
Yes. It sort of like comes off, I guess. It connects to like the side of my house
Mhm.
and then goes all the way around the property.
Around the
like
backyard.
that.
And what did you do to secure it? I'm
We
sorry.
had like dug out a trench, put like, I don't know, like you put metal stakes into the wire. We got beams to put in. They're like 6, well, I guess they're posts. They're like 6 feet high.
Did you do that around the entire perimeter of your house, or just where the dog was escaping?
That
through?
area.
Just that area.
And kind of, I don't know, I guess we went a little bit further, but not anything.
If
I have a question.
Question?
You said you mailed in your licenses last week. Did you include new copies of the rabies certificates? Because the dog officer is indicating that the original copies he saw were not acceptable.
Yes, they were the same ones.
Do you have copies of those this evening by any chance?
Let's see. I know I had grabbed a bunch of stuff.
And so for the rabies certificates, did you go somewhere recently to obtain those, to a veterinarian?
I had gone to, my male dog needed to get his rabies done, so we had gone a while ago to Banfield Hospital. I don't know if this one.
And received a rabies certificate?
Hold on. I had shown it to.
It was good for 2 years, or 1 year?
I think
One
it's
or
3.
two? 1 or 3.
Is it? Yeah.
They're always really complicated looking. Find the dates on them.
All right. Is the...
Oh, well,
is
here's
this-
one of them.
Could you please hand that to the animal control officer?
Okay.
That'd be okay. And Eric, can you tell us if this is the
He's already
certificate you
seen
saw
this.
previously? And if it is a legitimate certification?
Yeah, this is the one that was printed out the day after the quarantine ended.
Mhm.
So this was for the male dog. The one that, for the female dog, is the one that is no. The second dog, which people seem to be forgetting the fact that that dog committed the attack as well.
Mhm.
that dog, we have no rabies certificate.
Okay. Ms. Sheraton, you do not have a rabies certification
I
for the
do
female
have
dog?
hers. I don't know if I have it in here, but it is in the packet.
Did you ever provide that to the town or to the animal control officer?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, we don't have that.
That was the same day that he wouldn't answer my questions.
All right, well, we will be deliberating and do you have any more
Yeah.
final comments you'd like to make to the board before we ask for the animal control officer to come back up to the podium?
I don't believe that the quarantine, he came to over to release the dogs from quarantine.
Correct.
And that afternoon, I did bring him the rabies vaccination. So I don't know if he had come out on the 11th day of the quarantine.
The dogs were
Eric, if you're going to speak, can I just have you come up to the podium, please?
The dogs were released on the 11th day. You have 10 days under state law for quarantine, 10 full days, so we come out on the 11th day.
Okay.
Because that way the full 10 days are completed. It was after the fact that we got the rabies certificate. So the whole period, we requested the rabies certificate from day one, and we need that for, potentially having a victim go through rabies shots. So for 10 days, which is the quarantine period, we received no paperwork. Miraculously, on the 11th day, after we released the dog, we got a copy of one.
Okay,
For the
thank
male
you.
dog.
For the male dog. The
Well, I
second one,
gave
like
them
I
both,
said- Yeah,
but-
and you have a copy of it in your book, and then if you look under it, it says void.
Okay.
Where does
And,
it say void on this? I don't.
On the female dog was rabies, not the male.
And Ms. Sheridan, you had mentioned at the last meeting that the dogs were part of your child's IEP. Do you have any evidence to show? I believe we requested the ability to look into that, and you never signed off to allow us to check into that.
I actually did not. Who wrote up the IEP actual letter to get the release of information?
Town council
Probably town
drafted that
council.
letter.
The town council did. It just seemed odd to me that we've had issues with the town in the IEP, and we've rejected their IEPs because they don't follow it. I have it in writing that with my son, they did a trial because I finally got them to admit to it because I told Miss Mahoney that if my child was being not placed into a classroom.
The town council of the town is not involved with any of the school IEPs or anything.
Well, it just seems-
That's the school department and school committee and their council. And
We don't
involve
control, we
ourselves
have
in
no
that.
jurisdiction over that.
Okay.
It's different, those are different people. And that letter was signed by me. You asked me who drafted the letter. It was drafted
Yeah.
by council. It was signed by me, so I don't believe you would have known that letter had come from town, was drafted by town council anyway.
Yeah,
The
no.
letter was signed by me, it was sent to you by certified mail. We have your return receipt on that you received that letter.
Yes.
But my office did not receive anything
No.
from you since the date of delivery.
No. I
No,
believe.
no contact, none whatsoever.
No.
Okay.
Because we've had such issues with IEPs, my kids couldn't start school until a week later. This has been.
I don't want to get into a
Such
whole
a
school issue. The only
huge-
reason I asked is you said these dogs were part of the IEP, and we wanted to make sure any action we took related to that was relevant to that, and that's why we asked you to see that, and that's why we have town council here this evening. So I'm not here to discuss the school issues related to the IEP.
Yes.
So we wanted to take a look at that to see how it might relate to this case, and you didn't provide that to us.
I was concerned because it says, it is subject to use or redisclosed by the town of Chelmsford, including for but not limited to official town of Chelmsford business and dog hearings and related appeals.
Right.
So I didn't know.
We wanted to use that tonight.
Business. What's business?
This is business. This is official
But
town of
can it
Chelmsford
be
business tonight.
Can it be used for something else for records or?
Well, if you had a
It's not
question
very
about that, you
specific.
probably should have asked us, and I don't believe you called the town manager's office.
And I have never, and I believe I don't have the first page with me. Does it say it needs to be an IEP from Chelmsford?
It's right there on the
Oh,
screen if
okay,
you
there
want
we
to see
go.
it.
Fine.
So, I'm confused. I have a question.
You have a question, Bob?
Yeah, I'm confused. Is there an IEP or isn't there?
Yes, they have IEPs.
Unfortunately, we really can't consider it tonight because we haven't been able to see it. So, I mean,
Can you get a copy to us?
I'm just concerned because we've had such issues with IEPs that
Well,
it's pretty clear she
They-
doesn't want to share it with us.
as
Yeah,
far as,
I mean, if that's the reason, then we gotta have it.
Yeah. All right.
because of basically, I mean, especially because of the town. My son was bullied, so we've had to do this whole
Okay.
bullying
Like I said,
thing.
I don't want to get into the son's
it-
IEP right now.
But it does have to do with their, like, emotional impact.
Okay. No, I was just wondering if you were planning on sharing with that. If you're not planning on sharing that with us, we can't take that into consideration.
So do you mind if I just ask a
Sure.
quick question? And I don't want to know any confidential details.
Yeah.
But, so are you saying that your children had an IEP with the prior school district?
Yes, they had a much better IEP that Chelmsford could not provide.
And that you're trying to get, or you have been trying to get a
Them to
similar
comply.
IEP with the Chelmsford Public Schools?
I have just been trying to get them to comply to the IEP.
Okay.
But because they don't have the resources, they had just been pulling my son, who's supposed to be fully included into a classroom, just pulling him out and sitting him at a table.
Okay. Like I said,
The
yeah.
IEP
Being
you
thrown
referenced in our,
Yeah.
in our last meeting was from your prior town.
Yes, I would not approve any Chelmsford IEP at this point.
Okay, thank you. If you don't have any final comments, I'd like to ask the animal control officer to come back up.
I mean, I did print out. All right, hold on. Let me see if it's in here. I did print out like one thing, I guess.
Sorry.
She's looking.
Yeah.
It's hard.
All right, I'll ask counsel if he would recommend that we go into executive session before making a decision tonight, or if you'd like to speak to address anything tonight we brought up.
If I may, through you, Mr. Chairman, and to the members of the board, at this point, I don't believe there's been anything that needs to be discussed in executive session. I don't know what Ms. Sheridan is about ready to share with you, but at this point, I don't see any reason for going into executive session.
I don't think she has, there's nothing to talk about if there's no IEP, there's nothing, right? I'm wrong. I mean, it's only my opinion, but.
All right, Ms. Sheridan, what document are you looking for? Sorry.
Just their
All of them.
I tried to pretty much cut it down to as little as possible, just because it is their private information.
Okay, oh, so you do have it with you this evening?
I have their educational needs and where it affects them in the general.
Would you mind handing that to our town council?
Is that from the town of Chelmsford? No.
No.
So they don't have an IEP if they're currently
No.
enrolled in Chelmsford, is that correct?
We,
She stated that she has not approved an IEP, so at this point,
yeah.
nothing there.
Well, Eric, would you like to come up to the podium? We'll give town council a few minutes to speak with Ms. Sheridan.
Eric, can I?
Back.
Excuse me,
Sure.
could I ask you, Eric, is there any way, Eric, that the officers or the police chief, that the officer wouldn't have known what to tell her to do with what was delivered to her?
I don't believe so. And the reason why they were delivered, because we went to the house during the day and no one answered the door. So we wanted to get these into their possession ASAP, which is typical. And we leave it with the shift supervisor who gives it to the area car to deliver them and make sure they're handed to them in a timely and prompt manner.
So if they had a question and they didn't know, hypothetically, wouldn't they radio the station and get the
Absolutely.
information?
Most of the cruisers have the laptops in the car so they can pull up the report right in the car and then review it right then and there. As well as, I could have got a call the next morning, which I never received. So there was never any question of, what is this for? What is it about? We had one meeting, when I got the rabies certificate, it was in the lobby of the police department with, dispatch and our records window right there. And they saw me trying to converse with Miss Sheridan for quite a while. And there was no question posed about anything. Everything that she said, in my opinion, is a false statement. I deal with people every day, and if you have questions, we're going to give you the answer.
All right. It does say to be checks are payable within 21 days, right,
Yes.
on the certificate here.
So that, the 21st day would have been April 14th. So pending the trials, we haven't done anything, but at this point, it's overkill.
I'll just ask you to wait just a bit longer so you can hear any final conversation before we ask for your recommendation. Okay.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't.
Would you like us to take a quick recess where you can work out a few details?
Could we, Mr. Chairman?
All right. I'm going to recess for, we'll say 5 minutes and check back in 5 minutes. If you need more time, let us know and we'll take another recess. So at this point, I'm going to call a 5-minute recess.
Move to recess for 5 minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, feel free to go outside. down the hall. You want to ask somebody, Bob? Bob Joyce, please. Back.
We're all set.
You can hear, right?
Good job, Bob.
All right. Yes, thank you. That was impressive.
That's efficiency.
Okay. So it is 8:37 approximately, and we're going to go back into the public hearing. Ask council if you would like to, I'm assuming you may want to provide us with an update. You can do that here or in an executive session at your recommendation.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I've had an opportunity to speak with with Ms. Sheridan, and the documents that she has, I believe, are confidential documents.
Okay.
In my opinion, I don't believe she understands the nature of a waiver of the confidentiality.
Okay.
So I suggest that you don't take the documents that she has.
Okay. So you won't provide us a recommendation on what you've seen then?
I won't provide you a recommendation as to what the documents are.
Okay.
I just provide you recommendations that I suggest that you don't take them into the public arena.
So we will not do that then.
Thank you.
Okay.
How come? Well, from you, how come?
Come up to the mic.
Could you please come up to the microphone?
How come if he says it, you won't?
If they're confidential documents,
Yeah.
and you're not sharing them with us, or he's
No,
not recommending you share them with us, so we're not going to be discussing them or going to executive session to further discuss those documents. Okay.
Is there any way to get this like extended, just so, because I do have other things to, I don't know.
Well, the board will consider that tonight. We're going to hear a
Because I do-
recommendation from the animal control
Yeah.
officer. We'll decide whether we want to extend or take other actions.
Yeah, because I do feel like, the last time I was here, as I'm leaving, I go to my car, and the animal control officer, he's sitting with the family talking about like how they're gonna win next time, and it's like, that doesn't, that's not an investigation. Like, I don't even get it at all. Or he considers my dog to be so dangerous, and yet he comes into my house with one of my dogs off leash, and then he says, okay, well, I'm fine with dogs. I'm not afraid of them. But he brought another officer into my house. So why would you bring somebody else into my house?
Right, you have already stated that. You have already stated
No,
that
but
tonight.
I didn't say that. Did I say another officer was with him?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Last time.
Do you have a
'Cause
comment?
I just feel like, as far as judgment, if you really think that my dogs are like that, why would you bring an officer who doesn't know her
Okay, well,
into my house?
He will be coming up to speak next, and I can ask him to address that, but he is a professional in his field, and he does have the right to speak to the family and the victims. That's actually part of his job, so I'm not going
Yeah.
to slight him for speaking to the family now or in the past or in the present. Okay?
Yeah, but I just mean, why does it seem so biased? Like, I don't feel as though my family's ever been heard on this. Like, I've asked him questions, never been answered.
We're actually the body that comes to hear you. That's why we've opened up to the public. You've spoken last week, and you've had ample opportunity to speak in front of us tonight, and we're the
Yeah.
body that's hearing your concerns. And we
Yeah.
appreciate all of your feedback that you've given us.
I guess I just don't feel like if he's not necessarily the best person to investigate it, or I just don't understand why I had all these questions to ask.
Ma'am, with all due respect, his job is to keep the community safe. He is the animal control officer,
Yeah,
and your
and I
dog's
understand
attacked
that.
someone, so he's making recommendations based off that.
But if it's unprovoked, I understand, and I feel bad, after this whole thing happened, I did talk to the dad, and me and my husband both talked to him. He came to our house once or twice.
You could.
Brought his son a present, little toy trains, and he said everything was good. this whole thing took me completely off guard because, you know, as far as with the family or his dad, he said, "Oh, my wife and son are terrified of animals. I do understand."
Miss, I mean, they
House.
gave their testimony, and I want to make sure you've given your side of the story.
Yeah.
I've given them the opportunity to give their side of the story, so I don't want you to be speaking for the other family because they're here to speak on behalf of themselves tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like maybe the gentleman behind you to speak now, and then the animal control officer, if we could.
So, David Howe, 3 Algonquin. I did want to just rebut a few of her points there. She never actually talked to me. She left me a message on my phone. I believe we spoke right after the attack. I let her know we're going to the emergency room, and that was really the only communication I had with her. I did speak with her husband briefly to let him know, and he was actually surprised a couple days afterwards. He didn't even, according to him, he didn't even hear from his wife about the attack. He didn't even know. At least that's how he presented it to me. And then with regards to talking with Officer Merrill, it's after the last hearing, it was with regards to my son, and that was really the discussion. It had nothing really to do with winning the case,
Okay.
so to speak. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric, would you mind coming back up? So you said you had recommendations for us. So I wondering
Yes.
if that's
The recommendations I have in light of the whole situation that's transpired is, we have a vicious attack on a child as well as the parent. The dogs have never been vaccinated. With one count, we have one vaccination record that was provided after. The dogs are not licensed. We've had numerous stories on the same incident, and it's changed from one topic to another. Again, I've never been asked questions. My phone number is there. It's recorded lines. We've never had any of these questions that she has posed to me, so I can't answer them if they're not asked. The whole situation, it's traumatic. There's a public safety issue here with dangerous and vicious dogs. We have a dog owner who I feel is not responsible enough to have these dogs and provide the adequate care and protection for the public that needs to be done when you have a dog of this nature. And my only recommendation at this point is the dogs need to be euthanized, because there's no way that we can, guarantee the safety of the public going forward. There's just been too many inconsistencies and, lack of procedure.
what would the procedure be on your end if the board did make that vote this evening?
At that point, the individual, the dog owner, would have to, bring him to a facility, would have to, would probably witness
Within
the
a
fact
certain
that they're
time
there.
period, right?
Yeah, it'd be, again, it's on your, behalf, what you just said, 14 days, whatever. And then, the certified record from the veterinarian that this has been completed. And then would present it back to the board that this was the final outcome.
All right. Okay.
The owner would have the right to appeal to the district
Yes.
court.
Right,
The board's,
that's why-
the board's decision, right.
Again, it's chapter 140, 157, which has,
We have-
what the options for after the hearing authority has made their decision.
Right. Thank you. Right. Thank you. Questions for the animal control officer from members of the board before we close the public hearing? Ask for any final public input. All right. Is there any final public input before we close the public hearing?
I don't understand.
You got to come up.
Could you come up to the microphone, please?
Sorry.
If he is saying that my dogs are this dangerous,
Mhm.
and he's never received the vaccinations, I mean, why even, he could have taken the dogs when he did the whole process after, so.
It's our decision now what to do with the
No, I'm
dogs, and
just
that's why we're
like-
here tonight. I understand he made a presentation that he believes the dogs are vicious. We did vote at our last meeting that we
Yeah.
deemed the dogs vicious. We're here tonight to decide
I
what to
didn't know
do.
that.
Yeah, we did make that determination at the last meeting, so this is a continuation of that hearing. to receive any additional public input, which you received tonight.
Okay.
He gave you a break, I think, up until now, because he could have taken the animals right then.
No, and I understand that. I just feel as though I've never been hurt, or like when my son's there, two of them, and they're not even asked about it. It just seems.
I understand. Your opportunity is here, was here at the last meeting and tonight, and you gave your thoughts and feelings on this during the public input, and we certainly appreciate those comments.
Yeah.
And this is your time now. If there's something that you haven't said, I don't want you to repeat everything you've already said up until now, but I just want to stress this is your opportunity to provide us with your side of the story of what happened. Okay.
I know from my son that, or both of my sons, that, I mean, my dogs are really, really good dogs. We've had their friends over a billion times. They wrestle with my dogs. It's never been an issue ever. And they just would not, I just feel like it's an accident. And I'm very sorry about it. And it could have been prevented. But they're not bad dogs. They're good dogs. They've always been good to our family.
I appreciate that.
And I just feel like from the dog officer, there's just so many inconsistencies even on his part that I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess
I
it's
understand
just
this isn't
awful
easy.
to see that he's the person making a determination when.
Oh, to be clear, we're the board making the determination.
Well, I know, but I guess he's the one making the recommendation. I don't know.
I appreciate it. This certainly isn't easy for any family or anyone involved, whether it's the dog owner or the person attacked, and we appreciate that.
Yeah. I guess I just don't know. I'm not saying that, my dog really would just go up there to see if everything was okay. And I know him. I've seen him. I've let him play at playgrounds unleashed many times. And he does that. If the kid's crying, he'll go over and see if they're okay. And I understand if people are terrified of dogs, that would be scary if they're walking over. But I just feel as though it's like an accident, like it's out of the realm of, I don't know. Shouldn't have happened. I wish it didn't. I wish the boy didn't get hurt.
No, we appreciate that.
And it's just
Thank you.
I know from both of my boys are honest children. I know from both of them that he was kicked. And then our neighbor began to kick him.
Again, we have heard this testimony. We're here to hear all sides. If you have something new to add, but we don't need to repeat the same testimony.
I feel like mine's just, is just thrown out.
We haven't even made a determination yet, with all due respect. We've heard your side of the story, and we do appreciate it. We're here to hear all sides of the stories and make a determination. We haven't even made a determination yet.
Yeah.
But we did hear your side of the story. Okay.
Now, as far as the IEPs are concerned, if they do, I figured I'd just give you kind of a snippet, or as least as possible, as far as them having a social emotional need that, and a communication need.
Yeah, that was mentioned, and council has recommended that we're not going to be discussing that.
Yeah, I don't mean to discuss it, but is that going to be taken into consideration at all because you don't have it, or?
I think we've been pretty clear with our, we asked to see documentation. It wasn't provided. You spoke with council. He came and gave a recommendation tonight, and that's where we stand currently. Okay.
Because if I have the social emotional thing to hand you, then would it be?
We're not going to be discussing that, no.
So you won't even take it?
At the advice of counsel.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. I think
Okay.
you had a question for
Yeah,
Eric.
I have a question for Eric. Eric, you know what I own.
Yep.
I hate.
Yes, I do.
I hate euthanizing animals, but I also understand that this is a very serious issue with these kids. Is there also an option that could be used where if they relocated out of town?
Can't do that. It's against the law. They changed
It
the
is.
laws. Yeah. In 2012, it's called the Acts of 2012. They struck from the state laws anything that says banishment due to the fact you were taking the dogs from Chelmsford and then making it Westford's problem or Drake's problem. You were just moving the problem around. So the state came up with the Acts of 2012, which is this 157, which gives you the options of what you can impose as findings, be it, enclosures. And I mean, we've had numerous dangerous dog hearings over the past number of years, and even after these laws were passed. So we're not biased against any breed or type of dog. It's on a case-by-case basis on the severity, and if it fits within the section as this, unprovoked attack.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Board feel it's time to close the public hearing after 2 weeks public hearing? I would
Move
entertain
to-
a motion.
Wait a
Oh,
minute,
I'm sorry.
someone's coming up. Oh. Didn't he already speak?
Yeah.
It was a provoked.
Could you state your name and address again for the record,
Scott
please?
Sheridan, Algonquin, 14.
Scott.
It was a provoked attack. It wasn't unprovoked. And there was no kid in the carriage, because I think if the mom's trying to block the dog.
Scott, you are repeating the same testimony that you said previously, so we're only basically open to any new testimony right now. But you did come up with that testimony previously, so we've given both sides the opportunity to state their case. Unless there's something new that you didn't mention last time, I'd ask that you just only bring up any new information right now.
I didn't mention last time that the mom was trying to use her. It looked as though the mom was trying to use her kid as a body shield. Like, she was holding him towards the dog, which wouldn't be the safest thing if the kid's terrified of dogs.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate your input. Thank you. Seeing no more public input, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Public hearing is closed. Now move on to determinations and motions on the matter before hand, which is the dangerous dog hearing for 14 Algonquin Road. This is difficult. We all have, I believe, the Mass General laws in front of us, which states once we've deemed the dog dangerous, which we did at the last meeting, there are a few different things we can do. Confine the dog to an enclosed area if it's outside. There's a statute related to muzzling, insurance, and euthanization, of course. And as was mentioned, the dog cannot be banned to a different town. I don't know how members of the board are feeling at this point, given the second round of testimony. I'm inclined to follow the recommendation of the animal control officer, due to the serious public safety concern that's brought up here. And I know there are other things we can do, but these other statutes that are outlined, in a perfect world, that'd be great. But this incident happened because the dogs were able to slip out of their leash, and I mean, just given all the public hearing we've heard, I feel like we should follow the animal control officer's recommendations. But I'm open to other discussion and debate amongst the boards.
I agree.
And if board members have a different recommendation.
I recall that in the past couple of years, we've had a couple of dog hearings.
You had five.
Have we always euthanized?
Different types of, there were different types of hearings.
Well, one was the fence guy that got bit. I remember that one.
I want to make sure that we're definitely basing this decision off of this particular case, but just to give you a little bit of history, there was, I know, one situation, if people take the dog out of town voluntarily, that's one option. One family did have the dog euthanized at their own accord before we made a determination, and that closed the case. So there's been they've all ended in a slightly different way.
Want me to make a motion to follow the recommendation of, see if there's a second?
Sir?
I don't,
Unless there's any more debate and discussion, you're free to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to follow the recommendation of the dog officer.
Would you like to add to that motion that the homeowner will have 14 days to provide notification to either the town or the animal control officer that the 2 dogs in question in the attack have been euthanized?
Yes.
Would you like to add that to the motion? Eric, would you like to?
In the past, when we've done that, you need documentation, signed documentation from the licensed veterinarian.
So signed documentation from the licensed veterinarian will need to be provided to you, Eric?
Yes,
The
I
animal
can
control
present it to
department? Okay, and you'll present that or whatever information you receive at our next meeting? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Discussion?
Discussion?
Eric, why wouldn't we try one of the other things? I know this is a pretty vicious attack, I
Right.
understand that, but why, why wouldn't we require him to put him in a 10-by-10 pen and have him live out the rest of his life?
I don't feel that it'll be followed due to the nature of the whole case that's gone on. There's been no obligation or no following of the orders that we've requested, so
Okay.
I don't feel at this point that the requirements and the stipulations you put on it will be followed. And that's, with these, it wasn't just a simple bite as somebody walked by, which some of the ones we have had.
Right.
It's a different type of bite. It's a savage attack, and the uncooperativeness of the owner. I can't put that whole neighborhood at risk. So my opinion is there's only one alternative.
Okay, that's a good reason. Thank you.
That's my feeling as well. If the front door is just let open accidentally, we could have a repeat of the same incident. The dog slips off the leash again. Even if it's required to be leashed, we could have the same incident. So I agree. Any further debate on the motion before we take it to
Did you
vote?
second?
I seconded it.
Okay.
No more debate. All in favor? Aye.
Reluctantly.
Aye. 5-0. Any nays or abstentions? The motion is unanimous. We'll take a quick break. The motion was unanimous that the dogs must be euthanized, and the information regarding that must be presented to the animal control officer within the next 14 days. Paul, can we ensure that your office sends written notification explaining the situation?
We'll send an order.
In order to the family? Thank you. Question, Bob?
I just want to make sure that the dog owner understands that there's right of appeal to this. If
Right.
you desire to go to court, it can be heard in court,
So-
and we can be overturned.
Right, the
Yeah.
court can do the magistrate can consider the matter, and they have a right to a de novo, which means a trial at the court with
Right.
witnesses and so forth, so they have that right.
Can you make sure that the appeal process is
They'll be
explained in the
notified.
letter to the homeowner?
Yeah.
Okay, so the process for appeal, there's a process for appeal, that will be explained in the letter that will be sent to the homeowner. Great.
Dog owner.
Any more questions?
You want to take a short break?
I'm going to call another 5-minute recess before we move back into the next agenda item.
Move we
Thank you.
take a 5-minute.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 5-minute recess. Okay, good evening. It's approximately 9:06, 9:07. We're going to move back into our scheduled business. The recess is now over. All right, thank you for your patience, everyone. Move on to agenda item number 7, reports and presentations. We have hopefully our energy manager is here, along with a number of members of our energy committee, here to discuss the energy aggregation plan. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Michelle. I'm the energy manager. I'm here with some members of the energy committee, as well as some representatives from Bay State Consultants and Peregrine Energy Group. They'll provide you with an update on our energy aggregation plan, where we're at, and what the next steps are. So I'll just hand it off to them.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Good evening, gentlemen.
John Shortsleeve, Bay State Consultants. Let me just, a couple of introductions. Paul Gromer from Peregrine. This is a Bay State Peregrine team to go after this. And we've got two more folks in the back row back here, Susan Shortsleeve and Joe Shortsleeve. Susan works for Bay State, Joe works for Peregrine.
Okay.
You'll be seeing a lot of short sleeves.
I wish we could wear short sleeves here.
Now, I understand that the board has already seen a presentation, so I'm not going to go into much detail here, but I also understand that this is that's being beamed out to the homeowners. So just a couple of introductory comments about the concept. Aggregation, what is it? Municipal aggregation is a fancy word for group purchasing. It's got some interesting features to it. Probably one of the most critical is the opt-out feature. Citizens, if they can opt out of the program before it begins, they can opt out anytime during the supply contract. It's a fairly unusual contract in that regard. It's important to explain to people in town that the only issue that is being discussed is the supply portion of the bill. The delivery portion of the bill stays with National Grid. The company you call if there's a power outage, the reliability of service, all of that stays with National Grid. In fact, the bill is going to, even the supply bill is going to come from National Grid. Let me go to the next slide. What we're fundamentally doing here is creating a choice for about 95. This number has changed. So we'll get the final number when we get the final details. I think we had a number of 13,000 consumers in an earlier presentation. National Grid will give us the actual data on the number of basic service accounts once the plan's approved. We can't get that from them until the plan's approved. The idea is to create a choice. We're going to use the consumer purchasing power of 9,500 consumers in Chelmsford to procure a power supply that has certain advantages. It'll be a more stable, more certain, more known cost for power. I think everybody has seen how the on a roller coaster ride, with the National Grid rates, winter to summer, up and down. This will be a known price. The National Grid basic service rates are only fixed for 6 months at a time, and then you've got maybe 4 weeks notice before there's a significant change. The idea of the aggregation is to procure a longer term contract, maybe 12 months, maybe 24 months, where there will be a certain known number that you can budget for during that time frame. The consumer-friendly tag, that's got to do with the unusual feature. This will be a contract once approved by the state, and if Chelmsford elects to go forward with a contract that we procure, this opt-out feature, it's an unusual contract because in the sense that the supplier will be locked in for the 12 or 24-month term of the contract, but the consumers won't. Any individual consumer will be able to opt out, like I said, before the contract begins or anytime during. They get a better offer, somebody knocks on their door, simple telephone call, they're out with no fee, no penalty. It will be less expensive than basic service at the time of program launch. By its very nature, we've got this roller coaster ride of rates with high winter, low summer for National Grid. We won't know what the National Grid rates are going to be in the second 6 months or the third 6 months or however long the term of the contract is. So there's no way to guarantee at the beginning of an aggregation that you're going to, in fact, it's probably unlikely that you will be less than the aggregation in every month of the deal. By definition, if the National Grid rates are up and down, a more stable aggregation price is going to be somewhere in the middle. The idea, it has to be lower than National Grid at the time of launch, and the idea is to be lower than the average rate over the term of the contract. In terms of greener options, I'm going to turn it over to Paul Gromer, my cohort in crime here.
Thanks, John. I think we have one. We'll go on to the next slide if we could, Paul. Thanks. Just to highlight, before I get into the greener stuff, some of the things that don't change, most of which John mentioned. National Grid continues to maintain the poles and wires, continues to do the billing, continues to restore power in the event of an outage. Net metering remains the same for those customers who have on-site solar. Those rules don't change at all. Also, low-income discounts and other customer protections remain in place. To talk for just 1 minute about the green options as part of the program, there'll be an optional greener product for customers who wish to choose that. There are a bunch of different factors that can make electricity greener, including, the source of the power, where it comes from, the type of generation, solar or wind or hydro, and also how old the generating plants are. We'll create some options for the town to consider so you can choose the green option that's most appealing to you. Finally, just to wrap up, we'll look at what the schedule looks like for here. So we're at the stage now where we have the town will offer the folks in the community a chance to comment on the plan. We've drafted a plan. We posted on the town website, and folks who have comments can submit those. The next step and the biggest step in the schedule is a review by the state agency, the Department of Public Utilities. We've budgeted 6 months for that. Sometimes it takes less than that. Sometimes it takes more. That part of the schedule, the timing of it is out of our control, really. But then once we have the state approval, we'll issue an RFP and get price bids from suppliers. If there's a bid that the town is satisfied with, you'll execute a contract. And then from there, we have a public education period for 1 month where everyone in the town learns more about the program. Everyone in town who's eligible will get a letter in the mail informing them of the program and their ability to opt out, and it creates a mechanism to opt out. And then from there, after that public education period, you move into program launch. We're expecting roughly to be launching the program about a year from now, again with the biggest part of that schedule being the state review of the plan.
Great.
So that's our summary. We're happy to answer any questions if you have them. That's just a quick overview of the program.
Just one question quickly. Is that a pretty consistent number now for the DPU review, around 6 months approximately? Have you been seeing that consistently?
No, there really hasn't been they're not really so much in a rhythm on it. Some plans have taken 4 months, some have taken as long as a year. Okay. It has to do more than anything with their schedule and how busy they are with other things. Not so much about the plan itself. The plan itself is pretty well established at this point. What you need to present for approval is pretty well known, so there won't be any difficulties getting it approved. It's just a matter of time availability on their end.
Great, Paul.
How do you make money?
So that's a great question. We get paid through a broker fee, so we don't get paid anything at all until the program goes forward. And if ultimately you don't execute a contract, we don't get paid anything at all, period. But once the program goes forward, we get a small fee on each kilowatt hour of electricity. It's a standard electricity broker arrangement, standard in this industry, and it's the way all the municipal
I
aggregations
assume
work.
that comes from our side, not the utility side.
Correct. It's part of the power price that customers would pay.
We don't, the town doesn't cut them a check. It comes out of the
Right.
exactly.
They
Right.
skim it off or whatever you want to call it.
We try not to use the word skim,
No, I
but
know.
yes, that's the basic
I thought
idea.
it was cute.
It's built into the price.
Right, it's built into the price. And I wasn't on the board when you first came aboard. What was the procedure, Paul? Just a quick update on how did we get them over somebody else?
I think you were on the board. We went to town meeting with this a year ago and got town meeting approval for the aggregation to proceed. And then the Energy Committee proceeded with a RFP. They interviewed firms, and then they came in with a recommendation, which the board approved a couple months ago. And then they're here this evening.
It wasn't was it a bid type?
Yeah,
Oh,
a proposal, it was issued, and I think they...
I vaguely remember it might have been right after I got on the board, yeah.
Right. We can ask the Energy Committee to clarify, if you'd like, quickly. I mean, that is correct, and all the fees were the same, I believe, so you went on qualifications and...
Hi, Bob Andrews, Chair of the Energy Committee. Yes, Mr. Joyce, we went through an RFP process. We went through reviewing proposals. The price for the proposal was included with the proposal in a separate envelope.
Okay.
So we ranked all of the proposers based on qualifications, and then we opened the price proposal. All the price proposals were the same number.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I have a question of the Energy Commission as well.
Yes, ma'am.
One of my, obviously this is to save the town of Chelmsford residents money on their energy bills, correct?
Yes.
How does this affect the stability of National Grid as each resident or community is starting to farm out this portion of National Grid's revenue? Because my concern is that National Grid is still the person that I'm going to call when the lines go down for 4 or 5 days, as they have in the past, and so understanding that supply and delivery revenues are separate on the utility business, but we keep shrinking one portion of this, how do we make sure that National Grid, or how does National Grid make sure that they remain stable enough to be able to send those trucks in these emergencies? And this is my main question that I have whenever I hear these programs.
Sure. And let me start by saying it's refreshing to see someone concerned for National Grid.
I work in a very unique industry, so they're our customer.
And we want them to be around to fix us when we need to be fixed. However, the way deregulation has been set up, National Grid acts as a broker right now, similar to what they'll be doing on behalf of all of their customers to buy the basic service, electricity. They have to go out and purchase blocks of electricity so that it's ready to come online for all of their customers. And so what we're doing is we're taking our business and just going somewhere else. National Grids may or may not be marking up the power that they're selling, but their majority of their costs are paid through what they charge in the distribution and transmission charges. So in general, they'll be fine, because really they're just they're buying power. National Grid's not in the generation of power business anymore. They're purely a distribution, transmission, and maintenance company.
And the DPU reviews and regulates their power.
Absolutely, and they they open their books once a year to the DPU and show, this is what we did and this is how much money we made, and we're still solvent and able to do business in your state.
Right.
And National Grid won't start to up their prices on the other end to compensate for...
I don't want to go on record as promising what National Grid will or won't do.
Again, because the goal is, again, to save the residents money. So if the bill starts doing this, but it isn't proportional, that's, I guess, a concern.
Yeah, if you could.
He's going to go on record as making that promise.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful question to ask and a very important one, but as was just said, for National Grid, the supply part of the bill is just a pass-through charge. So they buy power at wholesale and they pass it through at cost at retail. So they're actually indifferent to whether the town does this or not. They make all their money, all their revenue on the delivery charges.
Thank you.
So their rates may go up, but it won't be because of this.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a great question. Great question. All right. Any other questions for the presenters? Yeah, very excited to see you moving forward. It's been a long time coming, but congratulations on being our consultants, and to the Energy Committee and our Energy Advisor, thank you for all of your hard work. And please keep us updated in the process as things roll along with the DPU and the next steps in the process. So, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And Paul, if residents have questions about this, should we have them call your office? Is that
Yeah,
acceptable?
well,
Of course, they can
pass them on
call
to
us.
Michelle, our energy manager.
Oh,
but
oh,
yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
I'll have them call you.
DPW.
Great. Thank you. Okay, moving. Still under reports and presentations, we have Bill Gillette to discuss the Vinyl Square Master Plan. Oh, Bill, I thought you were just here to watch our meeting tonight. I was silly me. You had to stay. Yes. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have been through a lot tonight, so I will keep it as brief as I can.
Much
Yeah?
appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I go too quick, stomp, but I assume that everybody's kind of got the report.
Yes.
It's 100+ pages. So we have presented to the public. We went back to North Town Hall. We presented to the planning board who approved the plan. We started this just over 2 years ago. So are you flipping the slides,
Yep,
Paul?
yep.
Sorry to have you
That's
do
all right,
that.
go
Look, I won't go through all the names, but there was a good mix of individuals from both the residents and businesses, younger and older. Who's not up here? People like Evan Belansky, and we couldn't have done this stuff without him. So if you kind of move forward to the report itself, look, it's time, right? This is really a master plan for Vinyl Square, North Village. What we've done is to kind of take a lot of the good things that have been done in Center Village, Drum Hill, talk to the residents, talk to the business owners, get their input. It's not necessarily the committee's input, right? Just like you, we heard a lot of different input and kind of brought it through to a plan. This will highlight a little bit of it. So we'll keep moving as quick as you want to go, Paul.
Sure.
The neighborhood does have a diverse population. There's a lot of young individuals as well as older individuals, and obviously the senior center does impact the older individuals. But look, the young adults, in summary, they really wanted some more energy in the square. The older individuals wanted to preserve the history, and the families and their children, they really wanted to make sure that there was a lot of recreational activities that we have with things like Varney Park, Southwell, etc. So that's the highlight of it. Study area goes from, we tried to make sure that it was not just the immediate Vinyl Square. If I had one of those pointers, I could show you, but in the V there is really where Vinyl Square is. So it goes around Southwell, up around the senior center, obviously Freeman Lake. It includes the mills down around Mahoney's and back.
Right. Good.
And Bob, you are welcome to pitch in on any of this because you were part of the start of it. So I'd say key committee findings, I kind of couch it as preserve and improve. They want to preserve the historic sites that we have. Look at what we've done to the North Town Hall. There's been some great things that have gone on for Varney Park. They've actually approved that plan, and we've got some funding already. But there's a lot of different historical aspects of North that we do need to promote. But make sure that we're improving it. And that goes around where it says the Varney and Southwell. There's some real capital improvements that we could do to some of these parcels that as a committee we weren't aware of until we started looking at some of the maps. And obviously we've done it with, some of the mills, kept the history, but, continue to move on and improve the look and the marketing of it. I'd keep moving forward, Paul. So from a recommendation standpoint, as a consultant myself, there's not enough pictures in here. There's a lot of words, so I'm assuming you guys can all read it, and I'll try to provide some context. I do want to highlight a little bit of progress. So there's been some interest already. People have approached the committee formally about a liquor store. People have approached the committee formally about an ice cream stand. People have approached the hardware store about how can they help to do some things differently. The garden club has come in to, say we'd like to do some landscape buckets and things like that. We found the old historical parking lot sign, which is kind of nice because there's just a square neon green P, and that used to be, I think, an old blue and gold, wooden sign. So I think it's actually someone that we'll thank later for helping restore that. The Lowell 5 has approached us about low-interest loans for some of the business owners. I think you're all aware, but there was almost a $500,000 grant that was provided to Varney Varney's safety is better, and I would thank the chief in front of everybody. It was one of the original issues that the residents came with, and I have spoken to many members of the neighborhoods, as well as they have a neighborhood kind of a committee, and they have said that over the last summer, the safety, the noise, a lot of the issues that were going on because of the police presence has gone down. So it's really nice to have that.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, seriously. So historical and cultural, I would say here, document and preserve. Like, there's a lot of historical aspects in North. We've got to make sure that we actually document those. I think Linda Prescott will come up and give you a little bit of news in a moment, and she has continued to speak to us about different things that we can do from a North Village standpoint. But then they'd like to pursue some districts so that we not only preserve and protect what's there now, but also kind of promote what's going on, all the cultural kind of district things from a center square as well. Moving right along. Recreation and programming, I'd say restore and expand. There has been a lot of interest by the residents with, some of the McKay Library green, kind of concerts, I should say concerts on the green. Sorry, I have that backwards. There are things around Southwell where we did not realize that there were 2 additional parcels of land if you go down to the park. There is one down on the river that the, I guess it would be the Conservation Commission, had approached me before this and talked about how can we just clean up the shrubbery and put in, park benches and things like that, right? Imagine that, going down with all the ball games going on, having it on the water. To the right of where the ball fields are, just to the right of where the boat ramp is, there's a large parcel of land that if you look at the topographical map, there is a path that goes around it. It could be a bike path and things like that. So there's some real opportunity with the land the town has that, even as the committee, we weren't actually aware of. You will see there real quick, I would be remiss if I did not mention the resident versus non-resident fees. Just so everybody's aware, it was one of the biggest things that was brought up when the safety issue came in front of the committee. I don't believe you can charge resident and non-resident fees. George knows this better than I because of the WPA project that was previously done there many, many years ago. It was done with federal money, so you cannot charge a resident versus non-resident, but they would like to generate some sort of a subcommittee that could look into parking fees or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of people there during the summer. There has been problems in the past. So it is one of the bigger things, again, from a safety standpoint, that it's not just about making Vinyl Square look like we're coming into a newer generation, but it's also about making sure that all the residents can feel comfortable about using Southwell into Varney, into, the North Town Hall, walking around everywhere and feeling comfortable. All right. I would keep moving. There's some examples of some recreation and programming, but I think the next slide, Paul, really it's all about economic development. We need to help the business owners. They want it. They came out in big herds as far as the public input sessions we had. We had 2, one for residents, one for businesses. I'm not as good as Evan and probably Paul at explaining all this, but really what we would go for, similar to the Center Village, is things like grants, no interest loans, tax credits, really to incentivize the individual business owners around facade programs and things like that. I have been approached by a couple of contractors myself on, what could we do for this piece of land or that piece of land, and how could we actually revitalize some of that stuff. The residents themselves, when we had the public input sessions, they asked for things like a liquor store. They asked for a pub. They asked for a bakery cafe. They're looking for more things. Today, there's a lot of people that will walk down to Rosie's. It's kind of nice because there's a neighborhood right behind the square. A lot of people will walk down. So if we could put some more things where people could walk down to them, I think that people would come. And the residents have said, I am willing to pay for this if we had some of those businesses. So I would go to the next one because it's actually got some pictures, and at this hour of night, you don't want to look at all these words. So the top left is actually the hardware store. It's Louise Trembley's hardware store. The picture to the right is Venito's Pizza, and that is meant to depict what a second story would look like. There's been a lot of discussion around the residents that they do not want second stories on a lot of the buildings. However, when you actually look at the square, there are a lot of buildings already with second stories. The unique one is on the bottom, and when we first showed this, Mr. Merrill himself, George Merrill, sorry, Laura, came up to me and said, "Where did you ever find a picture of that?" And it is the Old Village Market Building. I'm sorry if I have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's a 3-story building, actually, that was on the parking lot right next to the Village Grooming Center. So there has always been buildings with more than one floor. Parking is never easy in any, right, little village or anything like that, but we think if you look at what happened with the North Town Hall and they leveraged the fire station, I believe the Parleys have said that there's parking that they would be happy for the residents to use. There's the municipal parking lot that, I think if you continue to flip, hint, we will get to that in just a moment. So the regulatory and procedural, I will ask Evan if I get any of this incorrect to please let me know. I'm not going to go through all of these. You probably all know them better than I do, but it's really to preserve the community structure in North Village while being flexible for the businesses to grow, right? I think you've heard a lot of it at town meeting. You've seen it with Center Village. It's very consistent with that. I will say we do want the opportunity, it may be even on the next slide, but as the advisory committee, we would like to be aware of things that that would come before any of the buildings or new proposals for buildings in Vinyl Square. There was a couple of them that we actually called out in the report that we said we don't want that. That's not the context of what we're looking for in Vinyl Square. When I presented to the planning board about a month ago, I was made aware of the right next to the Dunkin' Donuts and Mobile Station, maybe the temple with the monks down there. They were presenting or had their attorney presenting on, doing something as far as a permit or zoning or something like that. All that we'd like to do is like to continue the committee so that we can be the liaisons to the residents, right? Nothing more. We can't control what you do. We can't control what the planning board does, just to be aware.
Right. Bill, is your committee also going to be involved at all in further recommendations on pushing forward some of those zoning changes and things like that? Who's going to be sort of handling that now? You have some of these recommendations, which I know, our board and different people can look at, but are you going to be making recommendations on things like that?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the way that it works, and again, Evan or Paul can correct me, but we maintain the advisory committee. We create subcommittees to do studies on some of the things that we've proposed, and then those actions kind of move forward. Is that
okay?
In summary, correct? In all that we're talking about here, Matt, is just making sure that as building applications go forward and things like that, that somehow someone on the committee gets the letter to attend some of the meetings just as a liaison.
That's a great idea.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we got criticized about one of the buildings that went up, that, right, Bob, that it was our fault that we let one go up, and we said, well, we don't have any jurisdiction over that, but we would be happy to be some sort of a liaison between, planning board and things like that to keep the residents aware. That's about it. So last section, traffic and infrastructure. As I said, parking's tough everywhere. We'll deal with it though. The parking lot that is across the street from Rosie's, where the cleaners and the travel agency are, I think you're on a lease there. One of the recommendations is to go ahead and buy it. There would be more parking spaces if we could take the tree down, but the tree is partially on the neighbor's land, and we're certain it's dead, and I'm sure that the landowner would not mind, but those are some of the things that we'll bring forward to you to kind of make those recommendations. There's a couple things in here. The Route 4 going through Vinyl Square is state-owned. There's always been issues with the business owners of who's plowing, who's taking care of this. So one of the recommendations, and I thought it was pretty good from Beverly Woods from NCOG, is maybe you can get the state to make some improvements. One of the actions was a sidewalk from Vinyl Square all the way down to Williamsburg, which is a huge community. Let them build it, let them do some other things for the square, and then we as a town would go ahead and take it over after that, right? And one of the items in here is we did not make a recommendation, but we will monitor the commuter rail. There is certainly a lot of people that feel on both sides, pro and con against the commuter rail. As a committee, we will monitor that, but we may not have any recommendations on the actual commuter rail itself. Okay, so I will take questions and answers. I tried to get through that as I could.
Bill,
Thank you, Bill.
Are there any photographs of what the other side of the street, where the bowling alley and the florist?
There actually is some real nice ones, Bob. They're in the report.
Okay, okay, I haven't gone through the whole thing. So.
Yeah, they're in the report. They look really nice with the park benches and some landscape pots. So we're gonna come back for some of those little things. I mean, if I had an ask of you tonight, it would be, to approve the plan, kind of the master plan, and then, be open to us coming back and asking for some small things up front, park benches, trees, some of those kinds of things. There have been discussions around the liquor license. I've talked to a couple of you about it. There was a real request from the residents about a liquor store. 2 individuals approached us. They have one in South Chelmsford, and they want to do a south and a north. But the current liquor license, I think, is in probate, and I won't go into all the details, but we may need to come back to you and ask if there are people that are interested in opening one up. Could we do something like that?
Is there any word on the piece of property next to Princeton? The bad...
Yeah, that's for sale right now, I think, actually.
That building's for sale?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Secret.
Really?
Maybe not for long, Bill. Yeah.
Because between
Yeah,
that,
there you go, Janet.
between that and the white building right next to the church, I don't know what church it is. It's the one that
Right across from
yeah, North Congregational. Right across the street from that, there's a building that, who's that, Paul
McGovern?
Paul McGovern. He attended the meeting.
Yeah, we talk to him regularly.
Okay, good.
That is a very valuable piece of property to what Vinyl Square could be.
Yeah.
Right?
I could see
Yeah.
housing there. Okay, thank you.
Nice that you mentioned Beverly Woods.
George,
because she
can you
was-
grab your mic, George? Sorry.
It was nice that you mentioned Beverly Woods because they did a tremendous, NIMCOG did a tremendous amount of work for that committee, and Beverly was at every meeting, and she really was a lot of help.
She's a real lot of help.
Yeah.
So is Evan, Allison
Yeah.
LaFleur, that is, moved on from the town. You can't do this as volunteers and, residents without the help of all those kind of people.
No, but definitely thank you for all of your hard work up to this point. Done a fantastic job.
Good question.
Ms. Janet?
You guys have your own website?
No.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
I would love to
We
see a
can-
lot of the old pictures, new pictures, maybe a place to keep all this information and post things that are
Fred
happening.
Merriam has been putting a lot of pictures up, but I like the idea.
Yeah. I mean, we can probably find some space, hopefully on our website, maybe, Paul, just to give them at least a space to post some of these documents, like the plan, some of the photos, links to Fred's site where he posts all the photos as well.
Yeah, but Jan's got a good point because the business owners are talking about how do we communicate and coordinate amongst each other better. I don't know if you guys remember some of those conversations. So having a website maybe for some of those business owners and everybody in that area might not be a bad idea.
Yeah. Let us know what you need.
We'll link it to yours though.
Very good. Any other questions? Are you going to have Linda come up now as well, you think? Some of the other folks?
She's next.
Oh, next. Oh, separately.
Yeah, it might be something separate.
Okay.
I don't want to take her thunder away.
Okay. You're going to piggyback on it. All right.
She does some great things, and we thank her as well.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for presenting tonight. Would you like, we can certainly, I think, make a motion on the draft strategic action plan. Our copy still says draft, if that's how you'd like us to make the motion, unless this was the final.
Evan, is that okay? Yes, please.
Sure. Is there a motion?
Yeah, a motion to accept the draft plan for Vinyl Square Strategic Action Plan.
A second?
All in favor? Aye. It is unanimous. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Linda, you're up. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to piggyback on what you just heard.
Okay.
A year ago, town meeting approved through this community preservation fund money, $18,000 for inventories for historic structures in town. This past spring, we applied actually last fall to the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and we were given a 50% grant on our original $18,000. So we now have another $9,000 to spend on inventories. Because of the plans that have been developed in town, the center, north, and some requests from other residents in town, we can probably get inventories on 200 structures. So we decided to hit Vinyl Square, the center of the commercial district, Main Street, which is West Chelmsford, and an assortment of older homes that are very complicated to inventory because of the land and the records. I mean, we're talking houses, one or two may precede 1700, they'd be first-generation homes. And that's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be going, Evan and myself, and I don't know who else is going to be going into Boston to the Massachusetts Historical Commission in May, the end of May, to take a course on how to proceed with their grant money. So, and RFPs will go out after July 1st. So we're hoping in a year we're going to have all that done, and all that always goes on the Historical Commission's webpage. And if you go onto the page, you'll see the inventories that have been done in the past, and those would be placed on that page. So you have easy access right there. There's always a lot of photographs and all kinds of stuff that appear on that page. So we have built on what Vinyl Square Strategic Plan Committee has recommended. But I'm actually here tonight for another celebration, which is keeping you in touch with North Town Hall. Several years ago, North Town Hall, after we restored it, received the Preservation Award from the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And what was really interesting about the award, and didn't realize how special it was until we were there, is that we were the only award given that had total town input. Everybody else had hired contractors. It was a business or something like that. It was a total town initiative. And I had a lot of feedback from other communities that this was remarkable. Oh, wow. From that, I received a phone call last spring, a year ago, from Bronna Simons, and she is the head of the National Register group within the Historic Commission, offering to put North Town Hall on the National Register, and they were paying the bill. I couldn't say no. Told Paul, just couldn't say no. Last summer, a gentleman by the name of Tim Orwig was in touch with me, and he was the preservationist that they had hired to do the inventory and to make out the forms to go to Washington. We received about a month ago a copy, it's 49 pages, of the application to go to the National Register. And on June 10th at 1 o'clock in Boston at the Massachusetts Historical Commission, the final Tim Orwig will make the final presentation to the Massachusetts, to the group that determines if a building is suitable to go on the register. And we're very sure that's going to happen. From there, once this committee approves it, it goes to Washington, and it will be approved by the Park Service. They're the ones that run the program. Mm-hmm. But I've always been told that when Massachusetts approves a property, that it's guaranteed it will be on the National Register. So we will have one more on our bronze plaque to put up there. So that's where we are right now.
Great.
And just would like to have you know, and it is an open invitation to come June 10th. It's a very open meeting. So I don't know if you have any questions.
That's fantastic news. Thank you so much. Any questions for Linda this evening?
I'm sorry, so you said when you're inventorying all these new, it's going to take you about a year, or?
It probably will, because we're going to have a company we're going to work with, and there's 200 properties. And they're just not created. I'm working on a couple right now for tomorrow night. And when they do this, if you read the application for North Town Hall, They talk about the neighbors. They're going to talk the history of the neighbors, the town. I mean, there's so much that goes on, because to be part of the National Register just simply isn't the age of the building. It's a town hall. It's the impact it had on the community. So they're going to name people. A really good application, I believe. No, Red Wing isn't on the site yet. I think it's just the preservation restriction. They're very in depth. I think Elm Street. 97 Elm Street or 79 Elm Street. I believe that one's online. You can see the application. But, they brought in, I mean, it's amazing. I know Paul's read it, and it's just an amazing document.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Yeah, good evening, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
All right. Why don't we move on to agenda item number 8, town manager reports.
Yeah, just two quick items on the report this evening. One is just a follow-up from town meeting action regarding the approval of the drainage easement for 24 Linwood Street. As the board knows, and as I explained at town meeting, this was a resolution of drainage litigation with the town. Town meetings approved the easement. So I need your vote to endorse the easement, and then we'll file it with the Registry of Deeds.
Any questions?
Simple as that.
Sorry. Any questions? Is there a motion to endorse the easement?
Yes. Move to endorse the easement of, on
24 Linwood Street.
20 what?
24 Linwood.
24 Linwood.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? That's unanimous. Great, thank you.
And then just the second matter that I just want to bring to the board and the community's attention, Chief Curran, under the special legislation, will be retiring this June 30th. We are in the midst of the process for appointment of a new chief. My intent is to bring before you on June 1st at your next regularly scheduled meeting a candidate for confirmation for a fire chief. And then what would then happen is, obviously during the month of June, there'd be a transition so that the new chief hits the ground running on July 1st. In terms of the eligibility for the position, we explained we've kept the position in-house, therefore the applicant pool consists of the 2 deputy chiefs and was opened up to the captains. Right now we have 6 applicants for the position. I'll be doing interviews of the 6 candidates tomorrow. And then next week, a subset of that group will be going to the assessment center, which is an outside assessment group similar to which we utilized during the police chief search. And then I'll take the input from the assessment center, make a selection, and then come to you for confirmation at your June 1st meeting. So again, we're now at May 11th, so things are moving along, and I just wanted to bring the board and the community up to speed. And as I said, at our next regularly scheduled meeting here, I'll be bringing for you a appointment for confirmation. So
Great. Thank you very
that's all
much.
I have under my report this evening.
Okay. Any questions for Paul? All right, why don't we move on to town manager contract and bid awards?
Yeah, the first one is Chief Spinney. This is regarding the extension of the towing services contract.
All right, Chief. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Manager. As the board is aware, our current contract between Christopher's Towing and the town of Chelmsford is set to expire June 30th of this year. So that being the case, I wanted to give a brief report with some action that the police department has taken. April 30th, last month, with the assistance of the state police truck team, we performed a fleet inspection on the entire tow fleet of Christopher's Towing. The Chelmsford Police Department also completed background checks on all employees of Christopher's Towing, and we conducted a performance review of services rendered by Christopher's Towing over the last several years. The fleet inspection yielded no failures. The employee background checks were fine, no concerns at all. And the performance review results are that Christopher's Towing has consistently demonstrated itself as competent, dependable, and above all else, safe. The police department of Christopher's Towing have developed a professional work rapport. The police department, we meet with the owner of Christopher's Towing, Christopher Ferreira, on a regular basis, at the very least monthly. And when issues do come up, no matter how big or how small, he is always receptive to any suggestions we may have, and vice versa. And it's been a very professional work environment. So, all those factors coming into play, my official recommendation is that the agreement or contract between the town of Chelmsford and Christopher's Towing be extended for a 3-year period. That's my report, and I'll certainly answer any questions you have.
Question?
Yeah, this is for Paul. How long has it been since we've bid this out? And do we have a criteria for the winning bidder to raise the amount of money that the town gets back?
Sure. Let me give some history on this. When I arrived here back in 2006, there was no contract for towing services, and the town didn't receive anything from the service. We initially bid that in June of 2007. It was competitively bid. The town awarded the contract to Christopher's Towing for a 3-year period. That price at that point was $40 per tow and an administrative fee of $25. When that contract expired at 3 years, we bid it a second time. At that time, and that was bid in May of 2010. At that time, there were 3 bids received. At that time, the town awarded the contract to Ferreira's Towing at a price of $90.25 per tow. Unfortunately, it wasn't too much longer after that period that the Board of Selectmen at that time rescinded that contract. We then went back to the alternate, or the second bid, which was Christopher's Towing, for $50 per tow, and that contract continued till 2012. And then basically back in 2012, the Board of Selectmen did a 3-year extension at $55 per tow plus a $25 administrative fee, and that agreement expires this June 30th. And as you see this evening, the recommendation is to maintain that price for the next 3 years.
Is that your recommendation, Paul?
Yes, and just so the board's aware, it's under Chapter 30B, it's an exempt service, so the town is not required to bid for this service, similar to ambulance service. So, again, this is an activity that is performed through the police department. So obviously, when we saw this was coming up to the end point, I consulted with the chief and asked him for his recommendation. He delivered that to me, and I support his recommendation before you this evening. And therefore, I'm seeking your confirmation to extend this agreement for a 3-year period.
I guess my final question is, why didn't you try to increase that? Because it had increased in the previous years.
Right, but I think it's examining the towing fees that are paid in nearby communities, this is a favorable agreement, and I think the escalation just isn't there anymore in terms of what we had seen in previous contracts.
Okay, well, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, I think the state sets the price that they're allowed to charge, and I don't think that's changed. So this is sort of like our percentage of that.
Exactly.
That's
The
what my
state
understanding.
sets the 55?
Towing, the state sets a fee for, again, it's a regulated utility, similar to what we were talking earlier about electricity. The state sets the fee for towing, and so that's why when you're pulled over, if you break down on the highway or in other cities and so forth, is the state fee that they operate under. And so at this point, we haven't seen any movement in the new administration of changing that fee.
The rate is actually 55 and 40?
No, they have a higher rate because they're paying us that money. They then have a higher fee that
So they
pay their equipment and their labor.
Maybe $90.
It's over. I think it's over 100 now.
The hookup fee, $90.
$90, yeah.
Okay. And then of that 90, the 55 comes to us?
Right.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Does this contract cover all towing, or is it
Covers all towing for all town of Chelmsford municipal vehicles.
light and heavy weight vehicles?
If it required something of a commercial size, then Christopher has options to reach out to tow contractors that can handle that.
And do we do the same kind of stringent inspection on those potential?
Yes, he brings it to our attention who he is going to use as alternates. It's very, very rare that he has to go outside his fleet. I think once for the backup.
Twice, maybe.
Yeah, very, very rare that he has to go outside his capabilities. But we would certainly use the state-recognized company if it did happen.
Janet?
Yeah, I just have a question. So I'm not familiar with towing contracts. Why do we take any of Christopher's money at all.
Oh.
I'm just curious, is that just something that's developed in Massachusetts? It just, I mean, we don't take some of Harrington's money whenever I buy a bottle of wine. I'm just wondering why we take Christopher's money.
It's a game.
He's a nice
You ought
guy.
to see what Lowell gets.
Right, I mean, you're allowed to do it similar to why we receive some reimbursement on the ambulance contract, because recognizing the role that the town plays in responding to these calls. In fact, there's a request.
Is it almost like it's because we're taking the calls and we're administering?
Well, I think it would be, he generates a lot of business activity due to the fact that it's police-generated activity that results in vehicles being towed, whether it's an accident. He's our exclusive vendor. So it generates activity for his business. So I think the give and take across the Commonwealth is that they almost provide for that.
And it's legal. All towns do it. Well, most
I'm not
towns.
saying it's not legal. I was just curious why we
That's an
why we
interesting
take
question.
his.
I will say that the one vendor
Right.
system far has exceeded what we used to do. When we had a number of contractors at once, it was very disorganized. It was difficult getting on the same page with who was in charge of what vehicle on any particular day.
Is this when
Prior
some
to-
towns do the rotation?
Right.
Yes, I think we used maybe 4 or 5.
Right.
And they covered different weeks. And this system has proven to be much more effective.
So how much revenue does the town get from this towing
I
contract?
have that. In fiscal 2013, $47,000. In fiscal 14, almost $59,000. It was actually 735 tows. In FY14, approximately $59,000 back to the town.
Remember, it's all originated around the time of the Revenue Committee. Remember, you've seen these
Yeah,
discussions
there's
again.
just something about it that
Where we
just,
looked at areas where the town, is similar to what we did with the ambulance contract. Originally, we weren't getting any ambulance fees either, and then we come back and look, said, oh, yes, you can receive costs for the town's related services, providing that in terms of the dispatch, and then we get that as well. So, and I think that pressure is still there today in terms of looking at alternative means of revenue aside from the property
1
tax.
second, Bob. I just wanted to make sure Janet was done.
I'm not
before.
done.
Yeah, can we just let her
Again,
finish?
this is just trying to understand all this. So, you mentioned here the alternate is Stewart's Automotive and Lowell?
Yes.
Why wouldn't we use the other local towing
To my knowledge, in the last cycle, the other,
as an alternate?
the
Just-
other, I have no information with another interest being brought forward as an alternate in this timeframe. And we've had good luck with who we've been using. Christopher's has a good relationship with them. So it hasn't been broken, so it didn't need to be fixed, in my opinion, for this rotation. So I didn't look to change it.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is, we do have another business in town that is a good business. They're taxpayers. They hire folks here in town, and I don't know why we wouldn't give them a shot, at least at being the alternate. Or my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is you do light towing, but you don't have the equipment for heavy-duty towing, so you'll call someone for heavy-duty? If you could clear that up, because I just want to make sure I understand this correctly.
We have 2 medium-duty wreckers,
Okay.
and we have 1 heavy-duty wrecker. That I don't do heavy-duty towing for customers out in the road, but when there's an emergency, if I need to take that truck out, I can take it out. In my history of, I've been in this business my whole entire life, and when something happens in this town, I want to pick up the phone and know that I got the correct equipment on the other end of the line, exactly what we need, without having somebody show up and not sure who it is or what they have for equipment or the proper equipment to do the job. Now, the company that I use for heavy-duty towing is Cody's Towing Service out of Lawrence. Cody's covers all of 495 for the Massachusetts State Police, all the way up past Route 2 on 495. So any job that they come in to work with me on, I am there. I am the supervisor on the scene with one of Cody's supervisors. So I don't just call them and walk away. I'm on that situation. We had an instance, and I don't want to bring it up, but we had an instance of a fire truck that got in an accident in town. Cody's come out, worked with me to recover that fire truck, and charged the town $0.
How long did it take Cody's to get here, though, from Lawrence?
Cody's has drivers that take the trucks home all the way. Their response time is within 15 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, without driving like a maniac. They have guys on 24 hours that sit at their facility right on 495. They're right on Marsden Street, and they sit there. They have drivers there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, heavy-duty drivers that go right out the door. As soon as they get the call, they go right out the door. Cody's also has 3 heavy-duty rotators, which is the standard for the state police to tow. There's nobody in this town or this area that has that updated equipment that most of the police departments are requiring for heavy duty. They have air cushions to upright a tractor trailer. Nobody in this area has that equipment. There's a lot of factors. Like I said, I've been in this business for a long time. When I make a phone call to somebody, I want to make sure that my reputation depends on it, and I want to make sure it's done. Earlier this year, we had a box truck flip over in Drum Hill. I had Cody's come out with one of their trucks to assist me. We used one of my trucks and one of Cody's trucks to upright it. So at the end of the day,
It's because you have a relationship and it's based on trust.
Exactly. It's not on cost, but putting cost into the factor, like for the savings to the town, they don't charge me if they got to tow a sander for the town or something else. When I call them out to winch a sander or something that I can't do off the side of the road for the town, you can definitely check with the fire department. They've towed numerous fire trucks for them at no charge to the town. So that's an additional cost savings where before, through the contract, you're supposed to tow the vehicles for no charge. Like that's what I do, any town vehicle that I can tow, it's at no charge. The other contract that towed before us was charging for those services. So now it's an additional savings to the town and the taxpayer by me using them.
Did you have time?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Bob, you had a question for me. So
Yeah, I
I'll let
have
you.
two questions. The revenue, Paul, where does it go?
Goes to the general fund.
Is there a way we could put that in an enterprise account and use it for public safety?
No, you'd have to get a special act of the legislature to do that.
Well, we do that for all the others, don't we?
No, that's a revolving fund from the sale of the cruisers, which goes back into it.
Does that require legislature approval? I'm just thinking.
Yes, that is a special provision of
I'm
the
just
state
trying to
statute
think
that
outside
allows
the box
that.
here where we could,
But how would, I don't understand, it would just be sort of taking it from one pool and putting it into another. I don't know what that would do for us.
so that public safety would get more money. That's all I'm thinking.
I think they have enough money. I think we budgeted them. I think they've. I don't
Okay.
know that there's a problem.
The other thing is enterprise. You answered that.
Right.
Okay. So just to sort of follow up on that, Cody's is different than the alternate listed on here. Does that mean that's the alternate that the chief will use if for some reason Christopher's wasn't available? You would just go ahead and call.
Well, we have the right to call anybody at any time, our discretion.
right.
But commercial vehicles are not included in the contract.
Okay.
We rely on Christopher's and his good judgment, or we rely on the primary contract provider to use their good judgment with contacting the proper company to handle commercial vehicles.
Okay.
So you'll contact Christopher and say, we need
Yes.
a commercial vehicle tow?
Or we would just independently reach out.
Or you will do
We
it?
we would contact if for some reason, like I trust Christopher's judgment with this. Like I said, we meet regularly. But if something happened and he was out of the loop or we had an emergency, I would reach out to the state police and say, I need who you use right now for a tractor trailer that's turned over. And we would just base it off of that.
Okay.
Okay.
How often is the alternate tower contacted? I mean, how many times has that actually happened?
We go months and months and months. We won't even see it once on one audit sheet.
I mean, that would mean your entire fleet is used and you're just unavailable, right?
To be honest, I think it only happened twice. And the reason it happened was at nighttime and the phones were forwarded over through cell service. And there was an issue with the cell service that didn't allow the phone to ring. So the police department in that instance, obviously they can't wait for the phone to go, so they go to the next immediate service, which was the alternate that they had at the time.
So that's happened only twice in 3 years?
To my knowledge, I believe it's only twice in 6 or 7 years, throughout my whole contract. I think it's maybe twice, 3 times at the very most, throughout the whole period of we've been towing for the town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one last short question? Sure. Or make a last comment. First of all, Christopher, I want to congratulate you for your service to the town. I've been, as you know, many times to sites where there've been accidents and stuff, and I know you.
I thought he was going to say he's been towed many times.
Back in those
I'm concerned why he's been to so many accidents, actually.
Back to those ChelmsfordMassNews.com days.
Oh, that's right.
And I congratulate you for getting the endorsement of the police chief. That means an awful lot to me.
I appreciate that. You know, I basically grew up in Chelmsford. I live in Chelmsford. I care about Chelmsford. My kids go to school in Chelmsford. We play Chelmsford sports, and it's very important to me. I'm a third generation business in Chelmsford, in the towing business through my family. So it's very important to me, and it means a lot to me and my family to be able to give the service to the town. And you know, your kind words, I do appreciate them. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
And you are very good to the community. You do give back in many ways, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher.
I would like to, are you looking for a vote tonight?
Yes.
I would like to vote at our June 1st meeting. I would just like to step back for a second, and it's not a consideration of whether we should choose Christopher. I think we're all comfortable with Christopher, but I would just like to delay it till June 1st.
All right.
When does the contract run
June
out?
30th.
June 30th, so we'll
30th.
vote on June
Yeah,
1st.
okay.
There's certainly ample time. Do any board members have any objections to delaying the vote until June 1st? See
No,
no
I don't.
objections to
I
delaying
don't
the
have
vote.
an
so-
objection. I just think all the right things have been said, and I mean, and I guess you seem like you're pretty comfortable with them. I mean,
Yeah, I'd just like to wait till June 1st. So I'm just asking that of the board.
and you're right, he does do a lot for, you know, I know like the Paul Center and like the 4th of July floats and
Pop Warner, yep.
everything.
You want to make a motion to?
No, we just delay action till July.
I don't think we don't need. Yeah, I don't think we actually need a motion to delay the vote. I'll say I definitely feel very comfortable with the police chief's recommendation, and I appreciate you doing the background checks, the checks on the fleet, and I think we are getting a very favorable tow rating. But I certainly have no qualms with just delaying the vote until June 1st. Still gives us plenty of time before the contract renewal. So.
Yep.
My only concern is that it being a 3-year contract with no increase, I don't know whether that we should review that time period and make it a shorter time period, or it just because it doesn't, I don't, you know, we're always looking for ways to save the town money, and it doesn't look like we're reviewing this in terms of, this is just the same rate as it's been for several years now.
Right. I mean, that's a fair point. Maybe.
I think it has a lot to do, like, you're in the business world, I think it has a lot to do with what he has to gear up for trucks and for, you know, and.
Well, I think it could go either way, because, gas could go up significantly, and
say
maybe
that.
he can't
Exactly.
offer this rate versus, it could go either way.
Right,
So
I think it probably has, that was one of my points too, is like fuel costs and et cetera, is, and we never we never took any less money or anything because of when the fuel costs were pretty high for a long period of time, so. yeah.
Christopher, I see I'll let you one quick point if you'd like to make.
I just want to address Ms. Merrill's comments. They had said it before, we're regulated by the state. So the prices that we charge, we're setting them. Through the past 2 contract periods, they have not gone up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've raised my rate through the past 2 contract periods, and I haven't got a raise. So, and yet, as you spoke about fuel, there's what's called a fuel surcharge that the state regulates that allows you, so if the fuel goes up, they allows you a buffer zone in there on your fees to be able to cover that. But if you check the history, we're probably one of the top 3 highest paid communities for the amount of tows, and Bob had mentioned Lowell earlier. I think we're, if not higher, Lowell's got 5 tow companies. we're, if not higher than the 5 tow companies, we're within the top 2 tier of those tow companies, and they tow per year, I think it's each tow company's 2 to 3 times as many cars as we do in Chelmsford. So I wanted you to know that we're regulated, we can't make up the, those prices, and we're really locked down, so.
Right, but if legislation were to change in 2 years, they could significantly raise your rate.
Yeah,
as well.
it's not significantly. The last time it was $75, and it went up, and it didn't change to $75 for, I think it was 9 years, up to 75 that made it to 90.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
I'll just ask Paul to take that into consideration for the next couple weeks. That's a good point. So,
We'll move on.
do you have a question? Yes. Let's move on to Evan Belansky, Dog Park Bid Award.
Yeah, we're seeking your board's confirmation of the bid awards for the dog park. Evan's here, who's been handling the procurement of this, with the dog park committee and so forth. So,
Evening.
Thank you and good evening. I have one graphic to send around.
Sure.
Give it to me.
So while that's going around, just quickly for background, about a year and a half ago, I was in front of this board related to the acceptance of a donation from a private foundation. If you recall, that private foundation donated approximately $25,000 to the town for the town to hire a design consultant. So over the last year and a half, the Dog Park Advisory Committee, which is an official committee of the town, has been working directly with that design consultant. And the plan that's going around is the final design plan that the advisory committee and the consultant have prepared. In addition, the Friends of the Dog Park have raised $25,000. That money is in a dedicated town account. Just to remind you, the foundation, as part of this process, has agreed to contribute $225,000 towards the total $250,000 project. The plan that's in front of you has received planning board approval back in the fall of 2014. The bid was placed in the State Central Register on April 15th of this calendar year. Pre-bid site walk took place on April 24th. The bids were due as well as being opened on May 1st. This evening, we are here to request the Board of Selectmen approval of the awarding the contracts. Next steps after this evening is we will reconvene with the foundation. A memorandum of agreement will be signed between the town and the and the foundation. That essentially codifies the foundation's capital investment towards the project and what the town is committing to. If you recall, essentially this is in the foundation's eyes as well as the town's eyes. The dog park is a town-owned amenity. There will be a dog park advisory committee that will continue to exist to monitor, maintain, and manage the dog park on a day-to-day basis on behalf of the town. But it is a town amenity, and in the foundation's eyes, there are certain maintenance requirements that are pretty obvious with any public facility that the foundation is interested in having codified as part of their investment. So, as part of your packet this evening, we did receive a recommendation from Places Associates. They've been the design consultants from the start of this project. So as the letter indicates, we had 2 qualified lowest cost bidders. Those total $242,000 and change. As I indicated, the total project cost is $250,000. The delta will be used not as part of the vote this evening, but we do have 2 separate local vendors who are supplying material. One material is steel edging for all of the walkways, and the second is related to bark mulch and stump grindings that will also be provided by a local vendor. Be happy to answer any of your questions that you may have.
Yeah, Bob?
So the total cost of the project is gonna be like 240?
$250,000 will be the total cost. The amount that's subject to the two bid awards this evening is $242 and change.
So you're not doing the ad alternates? Is that? No. That looks like they would bring it to about 273.
We are not doing any of the ad alts, with the exception of ad alt 1 for $500 is a possibility. All the others are not on the table.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't clear about that, but thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. What are the alts?
Alt 1 under general contractor was to install a shade pavilion. Shade pavilion. Ad alt 2 was installation of a ground well. Alt 3 was irrigation system. So the well and irrigation is on the wish list. The foundation offers three consecutive years of capital improvement money, each year being $12,500. So that capital money can be used to further improve the park and the facility. So clear candidates may be a well as well as an irrigation system. The fencing contractor, Alt 1, was for, the base bid was galvanized fence. The alt bid was for the plastic coating fence.
Was the chain link fence around the whole perimeter?
Correct, around the perimeter, 6-foot chain link fence, and then the interior fencing to separate small dog, little dog is 4 foot.
Oh, okay.
And then there are double gates for entry points.
Okay. One last question. Sure. Paul, I had mentioned to you about sidewalks. Is it possible we can get that into the plan, like?
It's not part of this bid.
No, but next year, maybe?
We're working on it on the sidewalk plan, yes.
Okay, because that's an awful road. No, I mean, really, it's
a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough,
Yes.
well, you know, you live there. Yeah, it's an awful road. Okay,
So
thank you.
we will take that up in the future.
And a final item is, once the contracts are awarded, we're eager to get the contractors mobilized. The bid specifications called for a date completion of no later than October 31st of this calendar year.
Great. All right, any other questions for Evan? Thank you for your patience, Evan.
Sure, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the two contracts as presented.
I move that we approve, I just want to see if it's in there. No. Okay, I move that we approve the funding for the dog park in the total of, what is it?
I didn't do the math, but the first one's 194.
Oh, altogether, I'm up at
887, well, they're separate awards.
Oh, okay.
One's the general contractor,
All
one's the
right, so
fencing
we'll
contractor.
do Boucher Construction for a bid of $1,094,873.
Would-
What?
$194,873.
Yeah.
And the fencing contractor is the $47,708.21.
So moved.
You told me you gotta be two different contracts.
Oh, they could be in the same motion, they just
Oh,
have to
they
be
can.
specified,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
All right, and
So-
it was seconded.
Okay, right. What's the total amount, really?
I
We have that.
didn't do that math offhand.
Oh, okay.
We don't need that in the motion technically, so I'm gonna make a vote on the motion because it was seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes or abstentions? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Evan.
Feel free to stay if you'd like.
Nah.
Good night. All right, town offices wireless agreement with AT&T.
Yeah, the last item I have for your consideration pertains to the rooftop wireless antennas that are in this building. Back in 1996, in June 20th of that day, the town entered an agreement. I don't know if you were on the board at that time. And believe it or not, that agreement has run its course. So in the agreement for a 20-year period, it expires next June 30th. We've been contacted by AT&T. They wish to renew that agreement. So back and forth with the discussions with them. What we have here is another license agreement with AT&T. In fact, because it's in the form of a license agreement, we call it the second amendment to the license agreement. And what this would do is this would start a new round of 5-year terms. And then the use fee would be $2,000 per month. And then every time they exercise a 5-year option, it would go up by 10%. So that's what we're seeking here. It started out, let me go back at this thing.
You don't remember?
I thought Bob would have that.
I probably got it in my basement.
96.
Right. The original agreement, hang on, I have it right here. Unfortunately, you haven't seen a lot of inflation in that industry, so it's. The original fee at that contract was $1,500.
And what is it now?
Now it goes up to $2,000 and then goes up to 10% every 5 years.
There was no escalation in the...
No, there was. It was. It started out at $1,500, and then that first one went to 1956, and now we'd be starting at 2,000 and going from there. So again, and that's sort of, I don't know, that's sort of the reality of what's out there as the industry has matured. You know, the prices of wireless, communication situations have sort of leveled off in that industry, and that's about that fee is about what you're seeing out there. About $25,000 a year is what you get on those things nowadays. In fact, I've been approached by another contractor who I've told them that if they wish to consider something, that I would ask them to make a presentation to the board. And what this has to do is two things. One is another site in town, but also, and I think it has to do with the stuff that's going on with motor vehicles now, is they're looking to attach attachments to our streetlights, and so they're almost like mini antennas that go through.
Wi-Fi.
Exactly, Wi-Fi. So that's sort of now what's going. So you're seeing an industry really transforming right now, but that it does seem to be a reasonable price for what's out there in the industry.
If we don't approve it, they just keep going at the same rate, right?
No, if they don't approve it in a year from now, we tell them to take their equipment and vacate the building. All right.
I think it's too little. I'll bet the water department's getting much more than that for theirs. They're on their, be nice to know.
I'm not aware of it, and I don't know what the church gets for what their thing either, but.
Yeah, they get multiple antennas.
Right.
Well, I'll entertain a motion, but.
Good. Well,
I'll pass. Because
There-
I want it to be more money.
All right, well, I'll entertain.
Go send Bob to negotiate with him.
Hey, they saved Sonus $200,000 on printers.
You mean the one that's in my house?
I'm gonna.
Same ones that the school department are paying mucho bucks for.
Would anyone else like
yeah.
to entertain a motion to
Go ahead.
approve the town manager's wireless agreement with AT&T?
I'm abstaining from this.
George?
George, it's all you.
Oh, man.
I'd like to move that we postpone it.
Well, I'll make the motion and then.
No,
we
you're
can
mocking my towing thing. Let's just get this over with. It's
Make a
10:20.
motion that we have, we accept the manager's bid award of the wireless agreement
As presented?
as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. 3 yes. Any abstentions?
Oh.
1 abstention. Any
I'm
nays?
abstaining.
And 1 nay. You get that, Vivian?
3-1 on
Fantastic.
1.
3-1 and 1.
Town manager appointments.
Yeah, I just have two quick appointments this evening. One is Fred Russo to the Council on Aging for a term ending June 30th, 2018.
Is there a motion to approve the town manager's 2 appointments as presented? I would entertain that motion.
And Tim Hartley, same term, It's June
I'll
30th,
make the
2018.
Okay, I move that we approve the appointment of Fred Rousseau and Tim Powderly as recommended by the town manager.
Second by,
I will second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays or abstentions? That's unanimous. Great. Board of Selectmen appointments. We are going to be reappointing the Sewer Grinder Pump Committee, and these are the folks who have agreed to serve on that committee. And also a Board of Registrar and Personnel Board member as well. Any questions or comments? We do have the applications here. Is there a motion to approve the appointments as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just the terms on that, I think for the grinder pump committee would be June 30th, 2016, a year from now.
Yes.
And then I think the registrar is a 3-year one, so I'll make sure you got that on the record as June 30th, 18, and personnel board would be 16.
As amended.
Okay, just so you have it.
All in favor of the amendment?
Oh, okay. You already
Aye.
called for it.
Aye.
Yeah.
Nay.
Okay. One opposed to the amendment. Minutes, tri-board meeting minutes of January 12th and regular meeting minutes of January 26th. Were there any final changes to those meeting minutes? I will entertain a motion to approve.
Before we approve them, I'd like to say that during the past year, Viv has been fantastic at keeping me on my mark.
Good.
And sometimes not keeping me on my mark, but no, she does a great job. Everything seems to be very accurate. One selectman had ever made corrections, so I assume they were very accurate, so. Great job, Viv.
Thank you, Vivian. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve the draft tri-board meeting minutes of January 12th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? Did you want to
Wait.
abstain?
Hmm?
No
Oh,
vote
that's
since they were
January.
January.
No, she can't do it.
She can second the motion, but I would
Can she?
recommend that you abstain from the vote.
Okay, I will abstain from the vote.
Okay, so that was 4 to 1 extension,
Right.
abstention.
And I got another one.
Yes, January 26th.
January 26th, regular meeting minutes. I move that we accept them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Abstain.
abstentions? Any nays? One abstention, Vivian. Selectmen liaison reports and referrals. Janet?
Real quick.
Would you like to start?
Congratulations to Mr. Stephen Murray. He's been appointed principal at Chelmsford High School.
Yes.
And congratulations to Ms. Michelle Christa. She's been appointed over at the schools as the Director of Business and Finance. 101 Mill Road Committee is going to be meeting this Wednesday, 7 p.m. They recently had another walkthrough with the abutters.
Oh.
And they also, when they did their first walkthrough a few weeks ago, it was on a Saturday, a video was made. And they're going to be reviewing that, finalizing that, and that's going to be posted on Chelmsford Telemedia as a 30-minute video.
Oh,
So
wow.
everyone can see the house and the grounds. That's it.
Great. Laura, you have anything tonight?
I do not this evening.
Great. George? No?
Yes.
Bob?
Yeah, just two things. Let's give Paul a round of applause for knocking down the Dutton House. It's down.
I didn't do it myself.
Now that would get an applause.
Another building gone.
Who had the one at Dutton?
But
Is that sarcastic? I kind of trying to.
I'm being serious. I'm
Appreciate
being
it.
serious now.
All right.
I want to thank Paul.
What about before?
Now.
Yeah, now. What about a minute ago?
I want to thank Paul for taking care of those two miserable lights in front of Santander.
Now that.
There you go. That took a year. All right,
There you
took a year.
go.
It's so nice to ride through the center
All
and
right.
see those going. And one last
Less
thing.
accidents now.
Yeah.
Less
One
lights.
last thing is
Christopher's will be less
that I
busy.
want to just throw it out for the possibility, just,
Yeah.
to
Oh, boy.
stimulate
Yeah.
Paul.
In addition to the sidewalks
Yeah.
on Richardson Road.
Sidewalks.
Buttered you
I
up
got
with the
that.
other two things.
And
But,
double poles. I get that.
I'd like to see, even though I know I don't like spending capital money,
Yeah.
but if some kind of money comes up, I'd like to see us possibly start changing the light fixtures in North, because we're going to do them eventually.
What light fixtures?
Light fixtures around North Common. That was one of the things that came out at the meeting. How come Chelmsford Center gets everything and Vinyl Square gets nothing?
That was part of.
You mean
pilot.
putting in decorative light fixtures? Yeah, but the problem is that's a state roadway. We'd have to get the state's approval to,
But what about the sidewalk part? Maybe that would be town? No?
no.
No?
anyway, we can, no.
That's too bad, because that would be a good.
Unless you
Yeah,
do,
it's at
unless you
least-
do like Billy Gillette suggested, have them do the improvements, and then the town could, in exchange
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it,
yeah.
offer to take over the maintenance and ownership of the
But then
roadways.
the state would have to pay for them.
Right.
Okay, it's an idea.
We could at least ask.
We could always
Yeah.
ask, yeah.
We can ask. Because that was brought up at the hearing.
Oh, yeah, no, it would look very
Is that
nice.
anything Beverly could,
Yeah,
Help
I
us out
think we
with?
can,
Yeah.
I mean, to make the ask, yeah. There's
okay,
probably-
can
we
you add that
try
to
and
your
stick
agenda?
with- Yeah.
We can always ask the state about
Yeah.
if they'd permit us to do it.
Yeah.
I just think they're nice. I think it really brings out the center.
Yep.
And seeing that it was brought up at their
It's a
hearings.
good idea.
And the sidewalks.
And the sidewalks,
Oh,
yeah.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right,
Me.
great. Yeah, well, the Energy Committee and the Historical Commission were mine, and they already gave presentations tonight, so I've got nothing else other than my office hours at Panera Bread, Thursdays from 5 to 6. Please feel free to stop by and discuss anything. Any press questions this evening? No? Great, thank you. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session, not to return to open session.
Okay, I move that we go into executive session for the purposes of reviewing strategy respect to litigation, and we will not return from executive session to public.
To open session.
For the
We will not-
cases.
We will not return to open session.
I second.
The case is printed on
The
the
case
agenda.
is printed on the agenda.
Public discussion would have a detrimental effect on the town's position, yes.
Right, Vivian?
So declared by the chair.
As declared by
Call
the
roll.
chair.
Call a roll.
I will. George? Bob?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Aye. All right, good evening, everyone. Except for Jeff.